Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Alpharetta City Council. Go ahead and note for the record that all members of council are present and accounted for this evening. And as we always do, we'll begin with a Pledge of Allegiance. So if you're able, please stand and join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First up this evening, we'll begin with a presentation and proclamation. This is a proclamation by the mayor and city council of the city of Alpharetta for Constitution Week. Please come forward. Since y'all are one of the people that requested this, I'll go ahead and let you speak if you would.
I'm a member of the Patriots of Liberty chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution here in Alpharetta. We meet right across the hall here once a month, and this is Constitution Week, and we're just honored to be here. And these are members of our chapter also.
Thank you. Would you like to add anything? Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and read then. This is a proclamation by the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia for Constitution Week. Whereas the Constitution of the United States, the guardian of our liberties, is a product of reflection and choice, embodying the principles of limited government in a republic dedicated to the rule of law. And whereas September 17, 2021, marks the 233rd anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate that, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through September 23rd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and city council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through September 23rd, 2021 as Constitution Week in Alpharetta, and urge all citizens to reaffirm the ideals the drafters of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties. Proclaim this 20th day of September 2021. So the first item up on our agenda this evening will be the consent agenda. And the consent agenda consists of 3 items: council meeting minutes from the meeting of August 23rd, 2021, the financial management report month ending July 31st, 2021, and alcoholic beverage license applications, which include PH-21-AB-24360 F&C LLC, DBA Que Paso Latin Grub, 5815 Windward Parkway, 202, Suite 202. Is there anyone who would like to remove anything from the consent agenda this evening? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda by Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell, second by Councilman Merkel. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote accordingly. And it does pass unanimously. So that'll wrap up the consent agenda, and we'll move on to the public hearing portion of tonight's meeting. First item that is listed on the agenda would need to be removed from the table if it will be discussed this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll offer a motion to remove CU-21-09, Alpharetta Liquor and Wine, 11380 State Bridge Road, from the table.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Richard and a second by Councilman Burnett. All those in favor of removing that item from the agenda, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote accordingly. And the item is removed from the table. Mr. Woodman, I believe you have this item.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I won't go back through the presentation, but just to briefly identify the item, this is a conditional use to allow a liquor store for Alpharetta Liquor and Wine in a 4,960 square foot suite within a shopping center. The location is 11380 State Bridge Road, and that suite's 130, 140, and 150. It's at the northeast corners of State Bridge Road and Kimball Bridge. At the last meeting, it was brought to our attention during public comment that the state had a distance requirement between retail package stores. And we were not able to identify that information while we were within the council meeting, but were able to go back through the state code, and we did identify that there is a 500-yard distance between retail package stores, which is same as 1,500 feet. And that measurement, as the state requires, is as measured by the most direct route of travel on the ground. And in response to this information, the applicant did update their alcohol license survey. And as you can see right here at this location, it identifies the nearest retail package liquor store, which is the Royal Liquor Store, which I believe it was the owner of that liquor store was who brought this up in public comment. And it shows that the distance to that liquor store is 2,638 feet. So that does exceed the 1,500 feet mandated by the state. The other information that was provided by the applicant, there was, of course, the staff report discussed some concern that staff had with respect to access to this property, the limited write-in condition on State Bridge, as well as the limited access from Kimball Bridge. And so the applicant did provide this exhibit showing access. I can't really speak to this exhibit, but I do know that the applicant is here this evening. So that's the only updates that I have on this particular application. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions from council at this time? Thank you, Mr. Woodman. If the applicant would like to come forward at this time.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I'm happy to be back at the meeting. Since last meeting, we had some little chaos I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous.
That's okay.
According to the guidelines and the requirements, we met all the requirements, the distancing through the schools, bus stops, garden, the path walk, and I'm sorry. So as of right now, we meet all the requirements, and we would be very happy to join the City of Alpharetta and growing our business to the City of Alpharetta, and we would like to thrive in this beautiful city, and we would do our best to bring more revenue to the city.
Thank you.
And I would be happy to answer if you have any questions.
Does anyone on council have a question for the applicant at this time? Councilman Hypes.
Good evening. I heard Mr. Woodman give a distance of 2,300 some feet. Is that y'all's measurement, or is that the city's measurement, or did you guys?
It's the measurement by the surveyor who is authorized to do the survey for the state and for the city.
And is that survey part of our packet? All right, thanks.
Yeah, it was my understanding that we included the survey that the applicant provided as well as the exhibits.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ms. Cobb, do we have any public comment cards on this item?
We do not, sir.
But if anyone would like to come forward and speak on this matter, now is your chance to do so. If you will, please just state your name and address for the record.
Roman Doublesman, 11915 Little Creek Crossing, Alpharetta. We believe those distance requirements are not valid. Per the staff member report, they noted that the distance was about 1,375 feet. And per our measurements of direct route, those are approximately about 1,400 feet from our premises to the applicant's premises. So that's the first matter. And a second matter, there's also another code that this applicant would be violating in terms of residency requirements. I have the code here if I may present it somehow. It's
If you don't mind handing it to staff, they'll make sure and distribute it to us.
the code states that the applicant has to be a resident of the county or municipality for at least 12 months preceding the application. And per our research, the applicant is not a resident of Fulton County nor Alpharetta. They're a resident of Fayette County, which they would be violating this code that I presented to the gentleman.
Thank you, sir. Anything else?
No, those are the two things that I'd like to present.
Thank you very much. And if there's anyone else that would like to come forward and speak on this item, now's your opportunity to come forward. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Mr. Stacy, do you have a legal opinion on that document?
Mayor, I'm just looking at it for the first time, but it does say no retail dealer's license shall be issued to any person unless an application is filed with the commissioner, accompanied by a certificate by the judge of the probate court or of the county of the applicant's residence, certifying the applicant has been a bona fide resident of the county or municipality for at least 12 months immediately preceding the application, and is a resident of the county or municipality where distilled spirits may be legally sold. So this would be the licensure requirements by the state to have the retail liquor license, I believe.
Right, so the point I want to try to clarify is, does this have any impact on the zoning decision that we're being asked to make tonight?
I think, Mayor, that it would, Mayor and Council, it would impact the ability of the applicant to potentially get a liquor license to sell at that location. As far as directly impacting the zoning requirements, no, I don't think so.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone on council have any questions? Councilwoman Richard.
Thank you, Mayor. Michael, can I ask you to come forward and address the measurement question that we heard from the gentleman?
Yes. So the measurement in the staff report is the measurement that I used in the original staff report, measuring distance from door to door in a straight line distance as the crow flies. So that the staff report does not reflect that there is a different way to measure this distance from the state because that was reflected after I was provided this survey from the applicant. So the staff report was already complete at the time, and it was not updated to reflect any of the state regulations. So I did go back and I did a quick measurement using our GIS application, the way that the state prescribes it, that is the as measured on the ground. And I did confirm that the applicant's survey is somewhat reasonable with respect to that measurement.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from council at this time? Councilman Burnett?
I lied to you. I do have a question. For Mr. Stacy, when you determine through that with the applicant's, residency requirements, how would the legal, how would our legal counsel determine that opinion based on, how is that even evaluated? Thank you.
Councilman, in terms of whether this applicant is in fact a resident of Alpharetta for the requisite period of time, is that the question?
You dig into that because I don't want to treat somebody fairly or unfairly based on something that we're just learning 2 minutes ago.
Understood. I believe in just looking at this section, and I pulled it up on Westlaw as well, that this really impacts the state licensure. So in terms of making the zoning decision here today, I'm not sure, unless the council wants to consider whether or not the applicant could actually use the location as intended, that would be a decision the council would need to make as far as residency goes, because licensure is not at issue at this hearing. But in theory, if the applicant is not a resident and couldn't meet the licensure requirements, then granting the application may never result in anything that comes to fruition.
Yes, sir. So as a follow-up to that, if we as a council approve a liquor store at this location and the applicant is not the intended user, it would be, unless it was earmarked or designated for the specific tenant in the conditions, it would not be valid? Is that are we clear as mud?
I think again, it wouldn't impact the council's decision, and I'm not sure specifically who would be holding the license, who the individual is that would hold the license. That may be something that would be relevant to know to make a better informed decision on that. But again, really the issue here would be one of granting the application only to have the property not end up being its intended use with this particular applicant. Now, if it were to be transferred to somebody else, but again, they would need to, again, apply for a similar application with this body. So I'm not sure that would come into play.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions from council at this time? All right. If there's no other questions from council, I'll call for a motion. We've done public comment, but if there's anyone that would like to come forward and speak and hasn't had the opportunity, seeing no one, we'll close public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will offer a motion to deny CU-21-09 Alpharetta Liquor and Wine, 11380 State Bridge Road.
Second.
Have a motion by Councilwoman Richard and a second by Mayor Pro Tem, and that was to deny CU-21-09 Alpharetta Liquor and Wine, 11380 State Bridge Road. Any discussion from council? All those in favor of the motion to deny, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote no. And the motion does pass 6-1. So the next item up under the public hearing items this evening, it'll be PH-20-07 Horizon 2040 Alpharetta Comprehensive Plan Transmittal Hearing, consideration of a request to transmit the Horizon 2040 Comprehensive Plan Draft Plan to the Atlanta Regional Commission. and Department of Community Affairs for review. Ms. Cook, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, the next item is the presentation of the Horizon 2040 Comprehensive Land Use Plan. And just a reminder that we had planned to hire a consultant to guide and assist with the process. But with the COVID outbreak in March of 2020 last year, we just switched gears and we completed the project in-house under Michael Woodman's leadership, him and his team. Of course, the comprehensive land use plan is the public's plan to manage growth in the city over the next 20 years. And we kicked off the comprehensive plan effort in July 2020 with a pre-survey, and we kicked off the public hearing at that time at City Council. We also had public meetings, which were held in person in October of 2020 and April of 2021, which were followed up with online surveys. We are currently in the public comment period of the draft plan, so this is a public comment, public hearing tonight. We will be requesting authorization to transmit the plan tonight after any public comment, and of course incorporate public comment that we receive. We did not have any public comments at the September 2nd Planning Commission meeting. The community involvement plan included the formation of a steering committee, so of course we had a 17-member committee that helped us to oversee and make sure that we were getting it right when we were getting all the survey information, and make sure that what we were putting together is what the public had commented. There were 17 members, and we also had a creation of a stakeholder list, the use of social media to get the word out, and then of course we had a project website on the city's homepage. We also had, of course, a lot of feedback with all of these different medias that we had. We had over 120 people that attended the in-person meetings, and of course, like I stated, we followed up to get survey results if they didn't feel comfortable coming to the meeting. We were also really excited that we had 1,200 actually survey responses. We usually, when we go through this process, we may get not even a third of that. So very excited that we were able to get a lot of feedback that we felt was just super important, since it is the public's plan. And then just to note, of course, the reason the comprehensive land use plan is important, if you think about it, in 2000, our focus was on building office. We have over 20 million square feet of office, and that's the plan that drives our vision. And in 2010, we were in the middle of a recession when we started the process. So we talked a lot at that time about mixed use and the vision to create walkable developments. And you can see from the 2010, we also had a focus on downtown. So it does guide and it pushes the development vision for the city. So I'll go ahead and turn that over to Michael Woodman, and he's going to talk about the themes and the areas of focus that we heard. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Oh, you do need this, don't you?
Thank you, Kathy. The next section that we're going to focus on are the themes or areas of focus that the community identified. So the big areas of focus in this comp plan were traffic and walkability, so better managing traffic congestion due to growth in the city, and promoting and improving walkability throughout, addressing vacant office and retail throughout the city, managing overdevelopment, so growth management. Housing was a big topic, specifically regarding housing affordability, as well as making sure that we are approving compatible development within existing neighborhoods. Creating a sense of place or placemaking, so creating those really interesting developments where people want to live, work, and play. And then, of course, open space. Everyone always wants more parks, and trails, and so improving and expanding our inventory of open space throughout the city. One of the other areas that we addressed in this comp plan is also the broadband services. That is a new plan element that the state required us to address. The state did have a map provided from the FCC showing that we had one particular census block within the city that was lacking broadband service coverage. We did identify that that property is being served by broadband services, but we went ahead and addressed the element in the comp plan. So the big piece that we wanted to focus on was the community vision, and this isn't a wholesale rewrite of the comprehensive plan, so there are a lot of great input that the community has provided at past comprehensive plans. So we don't want to start from square one. So we carried over all the goals that had previously been within the plan and many of the policies. So we do have some new policies that came out, only 1 to 2 within each of the plan elements, and I'll go over each of those. And then we have a few strategies that are new within those plan elements, and I'm just going to go over each of those. So the first plan element, the economic development plan element, we had, as I mentioned previously, promoting placemaking, creating interesting developments, and then addressing office and retail vacancies. So we have 2 new policies addressing that. And then also under the economic development vision, we looked at new strategies such as building on the arts, increasing special event programming throughout the city, unifying downtown businesses. That's something that Kathy has been working with the ABA on, providing economic development incentives, especially for the North Point area to promote redevelopment, of course, marketing and branding, and then, of course, maintaining that list of retail and office vacancies so that we can promote those vacancies for reuse. The next plan element that we looked at was land use. Land use, we just added 1 new policy and we expanded on an existing policy. So the public prioritized redevelopment corridors in the city, and they specifically called out North Point Parkway, Old Milton Parkway, east of 400, and South Main Street as the top 3 priority areas. So we just we made a tweak to Policy 9 in the land use section, as well as a new policy addressing the retrofitting of suburban office. Our suburban office hasn't been doing as well, and we believe that amenities are needed to be added to those particular areas to increase their marketability. Some new strategies that came under this element was small area plans or redevelopment plans for the Old Milton Parkway, South Main Street, which we recently received that ARC grant to look at that particular area, and Windward. Planning for regional draw uses for the North Point area, so specifically the entertainment, the colleges, universities, or assembly uses. Allowing for a mix of uses or amenities in our suburban office developments, and then looking at and researching short-term rental regulations. In the transportation element, we had 1 new policy, and specifically the big comment here under transportation was traffic congestion. And so how can we, what else can we do to resolve the traffic congestion, specifically looking at alternative transportation options as well as innovative traffic management solutions. So new strategies in that section, Citywide Trail system, of course, we've completed the extension of the Big Creek Greenway north to Forsyth, and we're continuing to expand the Alpha Loop. Continuing to implement our overlay streetscape standards, looking at and planning for alternative transportation modes such as autonomous vehicles. Shuttle and trolley have been discussed for quite a while in some areas of the city as well. And then, of course, addressing innovative traffic management such as the connected vehicle program. Under the housing element, we are not proposing any new policies here. We had quite a few policies under housing that we felt addressed the public feedback that we received. We do propose some new strategies here, prioritizing higher densities at the North Point area. As I mentioned earlier, protecting existing neighborhoods. We have some neighborhoods in the downtown that have experienced tear downs and then rebuilding with homes that are incompatible with the rest of the neighborhood. Of course, continuing biannual updates to our rental study, discouraging single option senior housing. So that's like the old model of just like a memory care by itself, or just an independent senior living facility. Those facilities are not doing as well as the facilities that have the kind of aging in place within those facilities, where you can be independent to assisted to memory. Addressing missing housing like your cottage courts, your accessory dwelling units, the type of housing that we really are getting currently. And then researching housing affordability tools. So there was not really overwhelming consensus from the community on how to address affordable housing, whether that be through density bonuses or subsidies or whatever it might be, but there was no real consensus. So we just think that staff needs to just continue to be aware of all the housing affordability tools that are out there. The next element, natural, historic, and cultural resources. We're proposing a new policy here addressing increasing this city's open space inventory. New strategies related to that section include looking at public art, cultural arts venue. Of course, partnerships was a big thing that came up in a variety of different elements throughout the comp plan. So looking at partnerships to enhance and increase special event programming throughout the city, continuing to incentivize historic preservation in the city, of course, expanding open space and encouraging sustainable and green development like we are in the North Point area with the Eco District. The community services and facilities element, here we address two new policies with regard to walkability and then community safety. New strategies in this section, a new skate park for the city, supporting the Alpha Loop Foundation as they raise funds for the Alpha Loop. Partnerships with our local schools. We have a partnership out at the Old Rucker Farm, so increasing those types of partnerships. Creating a partnership to encourage centralized parking, both in the downtown and possibly in the North Point area. Of course, pedestrian improvements to promote walkability will be needed throughout. And then really addressing the community safety is looking at the sites as they're being developed and making sure that we're not designing a site or approving sites that have been designed to create places for criminals to hide. So making sure that we're applying the crime prevention through environmental design principles in our site review. And then, of course, updating the city's hazard mitigation plan. And then the last comprehensive plan element that we addressed was the new element, broadband services. So we have a new goal, policy, and strategy. And we updated the city's wireless telecommunication facilities ordinance a few years ago to be compliant with the FCC ruling as well. So the other big piece of the plan besides the community's vision is that future land use plan. You always hear us reference those with regard to public hearing items, looking at what the future land use to make sure that we have the most appropriate zoning of the property. There weren't a lot of changes to the 2040 future land use plan. Most of the changes, in fact, were general cleanup changes. As you remember, a few years ago, we went around and purchased some land throughout the city for future parks. And so those properties, you have a couple examples here, need to change from their former future land use designation to parks, recreation, and open space. There were quite a few of those throughout the city. Another example, as I mentioned a couple of times in the presentation, we had a lot of comments about protecting existing neighborhoods in the city. So this is the neighborhood, the Alpha Park neighborhood, that was identified when we updated the comprehensive plan 5 years ago as an opportunity for redevelopment and of a particular neighborhood. However, based on the comments that we're getting from the community, there's been a strong desire to protect those types of neighborhoods. So even though we did change this neighborhood from low density to downtown residential density, which allows up to 8 units per acre under that future land use back in 2015, we are recommending a change back to low density residential based on the feedback from the community to protect these neighborhoods. Another change that we made in the North Point area, there were some properties, and this appears as if it's a substantial change. However, we have things within the North Point overlay and the North Point LCI that indicate that we should be creating a mixed-use environment in that particular area, but we never changed the south side of North Point Parkway to mixed use. It had a future land use designation of commercial. And in fact, our North Point overlay even has residential priority areas that are shown on both north and south of North Point Parkway. So to be consistent with the North Point LCI as well as the overlay, we are recommending a change to the south side of North Point Parkway from commercial to mixed use, and that is supported by what we heard from the community. And then the Hewlett-Packard property, HP property at the southeast corner of Windward Parkway and Westside Parkway. This property was identified by the community both in person and online surveys for a change from corporate office to mixed use. So this is probably the one property that was called out for that change. Which represents a substantial change from the designation of the property from 5 years ago. And then the last section of the comprehensive plan is our 5-year short-term work program. You may recall Eric Graves brought the capital improvement element to you. He does that on an annual basis. The short-term work program is actually a little bit different than that. That's looking at the 5-year plan between updates of the comprehensive plan. So we're looking at a horizon of 2022 to 2026. And we're looking at each of those plan elements and identifying projects or items that we should be accomplishing within the next 5 years. We use that CIE, the capital improvement element, the city budget and park bond as a basis for that document. And this is one of the pages from the short-term work program directly out of the comp plan. And each of those items identifies a brief description of the project, a time frame to complete, responsible party, cost estimate, and a funding source. And that concludes the presentation. If you have any questions, happy to answer those.
Do we have any questions from council at this time? Must have done a heck of a job. We have no questions from council. Thank you, Mr. Woodman.
Yeah.
Appreciate all the time and effort y'all have put into this. Ms. Cobb, do we have any public comment cards?
We do not, sir, but there is a resolution with this item.
Okay. Mr. Stacy?
A resolution of the City Council of Alpharetta, Georgia, for the transmittal of the Horizon 2040 Comprehensive Plan to the Georgia Department of Community Affairs and the Atlanta Regional Commission for official review, whereas the City of Alpharetta has completed an update of its comprehensive plan, and whereas in drafting the Horizon 2040 Comprehensive Plan, the City of Alpharetta followed the prescribed procedures for public hearing, plan transmittal, and other requirements identified in the rules of the Georgia Department of Community Affairs, DCA, Chapter 110-12-1, Minimum Standards and Procedures for Local Comprehensive Planning, and whereas the required transmittal public hearings were properly advertised and held on September 2nd, 2021 and September 20th, 2021, and whereas the Planning Commission at a public hearing voted unanimously recommending approval to transmit the Horizon 2040 Comprehensive Plan to the Georgia DCA and Atlanta Regional Commission, ARC, and now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Alpharetta hereby transmits the Horizon 2040 Comprehensive Plan to the Georgia DCA and the ARC for official review.
Thank you, sir. But if there's anyone here now that would like to come forward and speak on this item, this is a public hearing, so we can hear from you before anything else is done. Seeing no one come forward, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll offer a motion to approve PH-20-07 Horizon 2040 Comprehensive Plan and authorize the transmittal of the draft document to the Department of Community Affairs and the Atlanta Regional Commission, and the resolution is read by Mr. Stacy.
Second. I have a motion by Councilwoman Richard and a second by Councilman Binder. Any discussion? Councilwoman Richard.
Thank you. I'd like to just take a few minutes to thank staff for a tremendous job on a major comp plan update during the middle of a pandemic back in March of 2020. I can remember the conference call we had with Kathy when we told her that there were no consulting fees available for the comp plan update. And she didn't skip a beat. No problem, Mayor. We will take it in-house and we will complete the update in-house. And this particular plan is, in my mind, I've been part of other comp plan updates, is probably one of the best plans I think our city staff has put together. It is extremely interesting, and the community engagement level surpassed anything we've ever done before, and I think that's due to the tremendous effort on Ben Kern's part to get creative with online surveys and create very engaging surveys. And it certainly helped that we had a shelter in place occurring during a certain point of this. And our residents were extremely eager to tell us how important trails and parks were. So the output of this particular update, I think, is tremendous. And I also want to thank Councilmember Binder. He was part of the steering committee as well as the other 16 members. Staff had to pivot in regards to in-person meetings versus virtual meetings. Same thing with our public meetings. They got very creative, and when COVID numbers were at a point where we couldn't do indoor meetings, we had tremendous success with outdoor meetings, and it was very successful. So thank you for putting together a great plan. You've probably created a problem for yourself, because getting support for funds next time around is probably going to be difficult, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other discussion from council? That being said, then I'll go ahead and call for a vote, and that was on the motion to approve PH-20-07 Horizon 2040 Comprehensive Plan Transmittal Hearing, and as the resolution read by City Attorney Mike Stacy. All those in favor of the motion, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote accordingly. And it does pass unanimously. So the final item up under public hearing this evening will be MP-21-01/V-21-04, the Bailey North Winds. Mr. Woodman, once again, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The next item before you is a master plan amendment and variance to allow a 156,400 square foot wellness center, 24,700 square foot retail and restaurant use, 53,000 square foot of office, and a 100-room boutique hotel on 4.72 acres in the North Winds. And the Bailey is the name of this project. Master plan amendment is requested to amend the development mix that was approved on the property in 2018 to amend building setbacks, building height, and building coverage in the North Winds master plan, and this is Pod A within that master plan. There is one variance being requested to increase the maximum impervious area. And I just note that the original application that came into the city did request a rezoning of the property to a mixed-use designation as well as a comprehensive land use plan amendment. At that time, the applicant had a residential component with this. The applicant staff did not support that request, and as a result, the applicant listened to the feedback provided and amended their application and pulled back the rezoning, the comprehensive land use plan amendment. There was a conditional use for the residential use associated with that, so that was pulled back as well. And they also pulled back a few of the variance requests. There's only one variance being requested now to increase the max impervious area within the O&I zoning district. I do have the location map up on the overhead. The property is located at the northwest corner of North Winds Parkway and Kimball Bridge Road. As I mentioned earlier, this property was approved in 2018. At that time, it was approved, and I do have the site plan that was approved with that. So at the time, the project was referred to as the Lux. That 2018 approval allowed for 62,800 square foot of athletic facility, office, and restaurant, as well as a 60-room boutique hotel. Let's go back to the location map. As I discuss the surrounding uses, surrounding properties are the Jackson Healthcare property to the east, the Braden subdivision to the north, Clear Springs Baptist Church and a cemetery to the west, and a North Winds 7 office building to the south. The comprehensive land use plan designation of this property is corporate office. North Winds master plan was originally approved in 1986, about 250 acres. It allowed 4.3 million square feet of office, retail, and restaurant use. Of course, the retail and restaurant use is required to be located within an office building in this particular pod A, limited to no more than 25% of that total area. And I just mentioned that because there are some conditions that are recommended with respect to that. The remaining entitlement in Pod A of North Winds is 646,000 square feet of office and retail restaurant use, and there's a remaining entitlement of 284 hotel rooms currently. Staff compared the applicant's proposal to the non-residential densities in the vicinity of this property. And we found that the average density of developments in this area is 23,562 square feet per acre. We did have a table in the staff report that reflected that. That is the second table here. The table at the top, this is also from the staff report. This just represents a comparison of the current proposal to the 2018 approval on the property. This is where we're looking at the general vicinity and the non-residential densities in the vicinity. What we did find is that the North Winds master plan, when it was approved, allowed non-residential densities up to 40,000 square foot per acre. So even though that 40,000 does exceed the average in the area, our recommendation, staff recommendation, would be that the applicant's project would be limited to no more than 40,000 square feet per acre, which is consistent with the original master plan. And as I mentioned before, retail service uses should be limited to no more than 25% of the total office use area, which comes out to 13,250 square feet. Earlier, I mentioned the one variance being requested to the max impervious surface in the O&I district. The max impervious in that district is 70%, and the applicant requests to increase that to 80%. Staff does acknowledge that the site has some constraints, and we're generally supportive of this variance request. We do recommend a condition that would limit anything over 70% to pervious areas or green terraces or green roofs. This is the applicant's current site plan. The buildings along Kimball Bridge and North Winds at these two locations are 3- and 4-story office over retail buildings, so retail on the ground floor with office above. There is a 13-story hotel at this location, so the south end of the site. They're requesting a 100-room boutique hotel. And then there is a 9-story wellness center building. That's the 156,000 square foot building. That building includes athletic facility, medical and professional office, as well as some retail and restaurant uses. Site access is indicated at 3 locations, one on Kimball Bridge Road and at 2 locations on North Winds Parkway. This is a central motor court here where you would drop off. All parking is underneath these buildings, as well as a surface parking lot off of Kimball Bridge Road. As I mentioned before, the applicant removed the previous variances to reduce landscape strips along both roads, so they are providing the full landscape strip. They're proposing a building setback of 30 feet on North Winds Parkway and 35 feet on Kimball Bridge Road. With respect to the maximum building height, the North Winds master plan does allow up to 20-story building heights. However, we did those master plans, as I mentioned earlier, that was approved back in 1986, and over time we realized that there are some things that should change. So we did look at buildings in the area, and we identified that the tallest building in the area was an 8-story building, which is the new office building at the Jackson Healthcare location. So here's where we looked at surrounding buildings and their heights. Jackson Healthcare building was the tallest building that we found. We did identify, the applicant did indicate at the Planning Commission meeting that they did measured the height of the Jackson Healthcare office building. Staff did go back after that meeting and pulled the approved plans for that building and identified that that building is 123 feet 6 inches. It is important to note, though, that based on the information submitted by the applicant, the average grade of the hotel building on the south end of the property is at 1190, whereas the Jackson Healthcare building sits at, actually I said 1090, and the Jackson Healthcare building sits at 1053. So there's a difference, or 1057, there was a difference of 33 feet. So the Jackson Healthcare building as it sits today sits 33 feet lower than the proposed average grade of where the hotel would sit on the site. One of the other things that we looked at too was parking. I also provided the parking table in the staff report. That's the last table here on this page. I did, based on the information provided by the applicant, the square footage identified for each of the uses, we calculated that 981 parking spaces would be required for the property and all uses. This does account for a 25% shared parking reduction that the applicant requests. Our transportation engineer does support that request. However, the site plan does call out 940 parking spaces, so there is a small deficiency of parking there. With respect to the open space on the site, a minimum of 10% is required. The applicant has provided an open space exhibit showing that they have 12.4% of open space. I did note that on the applicant's open space exhibit, they're not accounting for the Alpha Loop that was along North Winds Parkway, rooftop terraces, or the rooftop track. So their open space is actually probably more than the 12.4%. So they probably exceed it more than indicated. As I mentioned, the Alpha Loop, so the Alpha Loop, on the 2018 plan, the Alpha Loop actually came through the site. On this plan, it does follow along North Winds Parkway. Staff also looked at the applicant's traffic study that they provided, which states that the development would generate 530 AM peak hour trips and 763 PM peak hour trips. We did compare that to the 2018 approval, and we did note that the current application represents an increase of 208 AM peak hour trips and 438 PM peak hour trips. So it would generate more traffic than the previous approval. This item was shown to the public for a second time. So the first application, that was it was shown to the public at that time, I believe back in February, but the new request removing all the residential component was shown to the public on August 11th, and there were no public comments. Staff has reviewed the current request from the applicant and proposal, and we do believe that the request is not in conflict with the established review criteria for the master plan amendment and variance if the conditions are approved limiting the overall intensity of the development. Current proposal does represent a significant increase to the overall development intensity, including the square footage, building height, and trips generated. And we believe based on the character of the area and the intent of the master plan, it's recommended that the density not exceed 40,000 square feet per acre. Building height should be limited to no more than 8 stories, and retail service uses shall be limited to no more than 25% of the office use. As I mentioned earlier, the variance can be supported. We just recommend that anything over 70% be provided in pervious areas or green roofs. This item was considered by the Planning Commission on September 2nd. Staff recommended approval subject to 21 conditions. There were no public comments at Planning Commission, and after discussion, Planning Commission did recommend to approve. They did recommend to approve accepting all the changes that were requested by the applicant. And in the staff report, you'll note that the conditions in red text represent the changes that Planning Commission made to the conditions. And I'll read those conditions. Try to be as brief as I can because there's quite a few here. The first condition is the site plan specific condition referencing the June 28th site plan. Condition 2, buildings shall be substantially as shown in the renderings. I did forget to show you a rendering. I believe these are the original renderings with the original application. So the building, like this building, as well as the building along Kimball Bridge, those have been significantly reduced, about in half of where they were before. I believe the applicant has some more updated renderings for you. But referencing the April 28th renderings, condition 3, the first word had been stricken by Planning Commission and replaced at the applicant's request with office use density shall not exceed 40,000 square foot per acre, not including the hotel. And then 3 goes on to identify the specifics of the wellness center, the office component, the retail restaurant component, which we recommend that be no more than a maximum 25% office use. That was updated by Planning Commission as well to allow up to 46,650 square feet of retail and restaurant uses. 3D addresses the hotel and changes the maximum number of rooms from 60 to 100. And 3E deals with the structured parking, so the parking deck underneath the buildings. Condition 4, maximum building height shall not exceed 135 feet from average grade of the project. That 135 feet was changed by Planning Commission. Condition 5 addresses the impervious area. And again, anything over 70% having to be pervious or green roof. Condition 6 deals with screening that surface parking lot from the public right-of-way. Condition 7 addresses retaining walls and making sure that those have an architectural facade treatment and that they be terraced if they exceed a certain height. Condition 8 deals with back-of-house functions, so making sure that those areas of utilities or back-of-house functions are screened from the public right-of-way. Condition 9 deals with the corner of North Winds Parkway and Kimball Bridge Road, requiring a minimum 2,000 square foot open space with decorative water feature, sculpture, or focal point feature, with final approval by our Cultural Arts Commission. Condition 10 deals with how open space is developed. Condition 11 requires that there are existing street trees along North Winds Parkway and requiring those oak trees to be saved. Condition 12 requires pedestrian lights along the street frontage. Condition 13 requires the streetscape improvements along Kimball Bridge Road. Condition 14 requires the developer to dedicate any necessary right-of-way to accommodate the required streetscape or any traffic signal equipment at that intersection. Condition 15 requiring that the site driveways be studied as part of the traffic study with final approval by staff. Condition 16 deals specifically with two needed traffic improvements that were identified in the applicant's traffic study and in concurrence with our staff's review of those improvements. So it requires the developer to provide those improvements. Condition 17, as I mentioned in the presentation, there was a small deficit of parking based on the staff's parking calculation as well as what was being provided on the site. So 17 requires that the development meet the city's parking regulations. Condition 18 addresses tree saves. Condition 12 addresses the Alpha Loop requirement for the Alpha Loop along North Winds Parkway. Condition 20 addresses fire lanes and the width of those fire lanes to accommodate a fire truck turnaround, specifically in that motor core area. And then Condition 21 requires that detention facilities not be visible from the public right-of-way unless they're improved as more of a decorative feature. And that concludes the staff report. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Any questions from council? I have Councilman Binder first.
Michael, I feel like I'm already getting back to fatigue from the hotel that just opened up, talking about height and stories and converting between those two things. But we got an email, maybe a couple of emails from different residents around the near area saying that the understanding is that it should be no higher than the Jackson Healthcare building. So I take that to mean kind of line of sight, so taking into account where it is on elevation, the Jackson Healthcare building and that. So the height that we have currently in our recommendations from Planning Commission, would that need to be altered if we want to make sure that it's equal to line of sight of the tallest Jackson Healthcare building?
It would need to be altered. What staff identified is that the Jackson Healthcare office building is 123 feet 6 inches. That's based on the approved building permit plan. We identified that using our GIS capabilities, that the elevation of that building is 1057. The information provided by the applicant shows the average grade of the hotel at 1090. So that represents a difference of 33 feet. So if you subtract the 33 feet from that overall height, it would bring the max building height in feet to 90 feet 6 inches.
And has there been discussions with the applicant of what that would look like if we reduce the height?
I've not had a discussion with the applicant about what that would look like. I did provide this information as a courtesy to the applicant. We identified that after the Planning Commission meeting, and I wanted to make sure that they were aware of the information that we found.
And I feel like I know the answer, but I still got to ask because of, we'll call it the top golf clause. So that high of a building from 400, what's the line of sight of that tall of a building on that tall of a peak from, say, 400 or Old Milton?
I mean, is it that you think that it would be, will it be visible? Or?
Yeah.
I'm not sure the answer to that question, honestly.
Okay. And moving on to the water retention area, or just the going to 79% on
the impervious.
I understand what you're doing. So anything above 70%, you kind of want to have green or whatever there. But is there any way we can increase the water retention? I get nervous because I'm Folk Killer Creek's behind me, and that thing seems to swell quite a bit more often than it has previously. And I think others in the area have seen things increase. So I just don't want to add more to the problem, and especially to residents downhill. So is there a way to not only have what you're suggesting with the 9%, I don't have it in front of me, but the shall be with pervious paving systems and that kind of thing, but maybe increasing the water retention requirements or having it so that they'd have to reuse the water, kind of similar to what we're doing at North Point. I don't want to just set, so you got to have pervious systems, and that'll help it when we don't know if that would fix the problem with the fact that there's now more water runoff coming because there's more impervious systems.
Yeah.
So
I honestly don't know the answer to that question. I hate to put Kathy on the spot. She may have a little bit more information there. I'm not sure if it's a fair trade-off or if there's a rationale between.
or if there's a way that in the application we can say that it cancels out, that you have water runoff, equal to that 70%. So that means that either more retention or more other kind of things that you can do to.
Looks like Ms. Cook is coming to save you on this one, Michael.
Well, I don't know if it'll be a save, but I do know that they still have to meet the requirements, even if it's an increase in the impervious, their overall stormwater still has to meet or reduce runoff, that they have on the property right now. They'll have to look downstream and make sure that there's not an impact. There's always an downstream impact analysis that's required. And I think what you're trying to get to is something like we did with the Eco District, where for North Point, where there's a little bit of over and beyond what the code requires. So I think that we can think about a condition that maybe we add to that.
I'd like to see it so that the runoff is equal to whatever 70% impervious would be. Just because they're increasing the impervious, the runoff should be equal to what we require on the code.
Yeah, and that can certainly.
I don't know how to.
That can certainly be done. I see what you're saying, that even though they have that, the change, that they still have the capacity and make sure that they include that. That's something they absolutely could do.
Yeah.
Councilman Burnett, then Councilman Hypes.
Kathy, you may want to stay. Michael, my question for you is, Jackson Healthcare is, I believe you said 8 stories tall?
Yes.
Was that zoned by right? Did it need any variances whatsoever?
It did not come through the public hearing process. It was allowed through the master plan.
So if this applicant wanted to build something that required 0 variances, how tall could he build it?
Up to 20 stories.
20.
20.
How many feet tall is that?
Probably, I think you would do 20 stories multiplied by probably 11 to 12 feet per story.
I'm not going to argue whether or not he could park that. I think we know the answer is probably no. But my second question for you, you said that this did not require a comprehensive land use plan change. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Is there anything in the vicinity that has had the comprehensive land use plan changed?
The Braden subdivision across the street.
What was that before it was zoned into a residential neighborhood?
It was corporate office.
Thank you.
Councilman Hypes.
Mr. Woodman, I'm wanting you to shed a little light on part of the report. At the time the North Winds Master Plan was approved, it allowed non-residential densities between 12,000 and 40,000 square feet per acre. Then it goes on to talk about recommending no more than 40,000 square feet per acre for office. So I'm trying to understand non-residential and office and hotel. The hotel itself is 123,000 square feet, but it's not part of your 40,000 square foot per acre recommendation that's coming out of the master plan. So I'm just trying to understand that.
Yeah. The North Winds Master Plan treats the hotel separate from the office, restaurant, retail use. So they address the 12 to 40,000 square feet per acre. That's specific to the office, retail, restaurant uses. And then the hotel entitlement was separate from that.
All right. Now, when this was approved with a zoning change back in July of 19, the square footage obviously was considerably less for office per the master plan. And it would have been under the 40,000 square feet per acre back when it was rezoned by this applicant in July of 2018. Now it sits just shy of 50,000. Your recommendation is 40,000. What does the outcome look like if council were to vote to adopt that recommendation? Do we know what that does in reduction of parking, number of traffic trips, how it affects the traffic flow, how it affects the number of parking spaces? The quick math here is you take 10,000 out of 50,000, that's a 20% reduction. Is it a different project altogether where all of these numbers that are in the report become meaningless because we would be voting for something that's 20% less of something we don't know what it looks like?
Well, I mean, it's our recommendation that it match the max non-residential square footage in the master plan. However, the applicant did not update their traffic study or anything to show what it would be based on staff's conditions.
So right now, there's not enough parking spaces. It's more than double on the traffic trips from the original application having been approved in July of 18. And my question is, if we were to adopt that recommendation of the very upper end of the North Wind's master plan for office density, do we know what the consequences will be on all these other numbers?
We know that they'll be reduced.
By how much? Will we still be over in terms of, will the proper amount of parking be there? I mean, these are all the types of things I'm trying to get at.
Yes, so the parking shortage was, I think, about 40 parking spaces. Based on, if this was approved based on the staff's recommendation, there would be a substantial reduction in overall parking, and it would be well below the 40 parking spaces that there's deficit on currently. But we don't know exactly how many, if it's approved as proposed. We don't know. We know that there is a significant increase in AM and PM peak hour trips. That will certainly reduce the overall number of trips there. But how much it reduces it by, I don't know the exact number.
Okay.
Councilman Merkel.
Excuse me, it's been mentioned by several up here. And we got burned by it when I first got on council. We keep talking about stories. Councilman Burnett asked you, how many feet would that be? There is no standard number for considered a story, is there?
Standard number of
feet?
No, I mean, yeah.
So an 8-story building could be 160, 200, doesn't matter. You can call it 8. You could have 12-foot, 14, 16-foot ceilings.
Sure.
So, okay. And for that reason, I think we need to continue to discuss number of feet versus stories. I think stories is misleading, and we saw that on the last hotel that was approved. They reduced it by an entire story, but only came down 5 feet.
Yeah.
So, want to make sure we're on that page. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from staff at this time? Thanks, sir. Would the applicant like to come forward at this time?
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. It's a pleasure and an honor to be in front of you guys today. Today we want to go through a couple of things and also get you familiar with some of the people on our team. It has, again, been a pleasure working with the city and the staff for the last couple of years. I know we started this change in January of this year, and working diligently with the staff, we think we've came to a project that is not only feasible, but is a great resource and asset for the city of Alpharetta. We're going to start with a brief introduction from a couple of team members. The first one that's coming up is a longtime hotelier by the name of John Crow. He'll be followed by the good team over at Winter Construction. And then lastly, Paul from Good Vance Light Architecture. Then after that, we're going to go to some of the comments that were, or get into some of the comments that were made by Michael Woodman and giving our viewpoint on some of those. And then next, it would be Jeff from Good Vance Light that will go into breakdown of some of the conditions that we requested and that was approved through Planning Commission. And then after that, it'll be open for questions. So with that, I want to start with John Crow.
Mr. Mayor, can we get our presenter's name and position with the project?
Absolutely. My name is Brandon Willis. I'm the owner and CEO of Alux Properties, a development company formed in 2018 after my tenure in the United States Army, building military bases worldwide and working on development here stateside and overseas. I am a longtime Georgia resident. Born and raised here. Myself and my children will be relocating to the city of Alpharetta as soon as the housing market corrects itself. We are currently residing in Sandy Springs and looking forward to coming up here. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Good evening. My name is John Crow. I live in Sandy Springs, and as he said, I'm a longtime hotelier and a partner in the hotel portion of the Bailey project. I have been involved in the hotel business for, 40 years, specializing in high-end luxury boutique hotels, both in the U.S. and overseas as well. And I wanted to just take a couple of minutes and tell you about this, what we think is a very special little hotel project for Alpharetta. This is a hotel unlike anything that you currently have in the market. You have some very nice hotels, including a new one, but those are not, by our definition, true luxury hotels. They're very nice, but they're not luxury. They're not five-star hotels. In fact, the whole metro Atlanta area does not have a five-star hotel. The Four Seasons is not a five-star. The St. Regis is not a five-star. That's our target goal. And the real reason, the real difference between a four-star and a five-star hotel, or any hotel, and a good hotel and a great hotel, isn't the amount of marble in the bathroom. It's service, and just as importantly, it's the quality of food and beverage. There isn't a great hotel anywhere in the world that also doesn't have a great restaurant. And so much of our focus is on delivering that kind of service. Certainly there'll be spectacular facilities, lovely rooms, lovely dining rooms, but the real key is going to be on service. And the quality of food and beverage, and we can address that a bit later perhaps. What's unique about this property is we don't view it as particularly competitive with anything that's currently in the market. We're coming in, first of all, a level above it, both in terms of service and particularly in terms of the rate that we'll charge. So if I were operating a hotel now, I'd be thrilled to have us coming in because it's going to allow me to bump my rate up after we start posting some of ours. But the other thing is that we are partnered in this with the rest of the Bailey concept, which is a wellness, health, and fitness kind of concept that really is a medical tourism concept. We're bringing people to Alpharetta who would not otherwise be here. We're not taking the business guy who's staying at the Avalon at the Hamilton. We're actually bringing new people into the city of Alpharetta to stay in our hotel. And we think that puts us in a pretty unique position. We think there's a real opportunity. We are, as Michael mentioned originally, I think the original proposal was for 60 rooms. We're not viable at 60 rooms. We've proposed 100 rooms for the hotel. We need that many in order to justify the cost, one, of the facilities, but two, of the service level, the support of the restaurant, and the other things we need. 100 is a number that works for us. It's large enough to be financially viable, but it's small enough to deliver the kind of service quality that we think is important for this facility. We think that the wellness part of this is going to be bringing in top executives and other things for wellness and fitness, and they're going to expect that kind of quality of service, the kind of service and quality you would see in any major city around the country. But right now, Atlanta just doesn't have. But it's the kind of hotel, people are coming to Atlanta and looking for those kind of facilities. They're just not finding them. They're finding them in New York and Chicago and Paris and London. They're not finding them in Atlanta. And we'd like them to find them in Alpharetta. And with that, let me turn it over to Brent Reed of Winter Construction, who we've tasked with building this beautiful hotel.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Brent Reed. I'm the CEO of the Winter Construction Company. I live in Sandy Springs. For the record, the first house I ever purchased was in Alpharetta in 1984 at Manning's Ridge. So I have fond memories of Alpharetta. Our company's been in business since 1962. We work Metro Atlanta, of course, as well as throughout the Southeast, build a lot of projects like this. This is a very exciting project. We're senior management owned, privately held. Got a lot of our, raise your hand, a lot of our folks back there who are very excited to start building on this project simply because a lot of them live in this area and they want to get going. So we're excited about the opportunity. This is a great project we feel like that Brandon and his team have put together. We've been working with Brandon and the team now for well over a year with pricing and planning and logistics. So we're excited about it, and I guess if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer any.
Any questions? Councilman Burnett.
I'm glad you came up. My question for you is that I have heard from the neighbor across the street that the terrain is exceptionally challenging with respect to rock. I have to imagine that you guys would be blasting on some level. Can you confirm or deny?
I'm not sure. I know we're going to be blasting, but what type is it? What are we doing?
I'm not sure what it's like. There's further studies are still being done.
Suffice it to say, there's plenty of rock. We need to determine it just through no too technical analysis of just, how it comes together.
Thank you. I would like, that is not a quiet process. I would like to see that cared for if there is a motion of support. Thank you.
We will definitely do that.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, could you kind of summarize that so we have it on the record, please?
There's definitely rock on site. We need additional analysis to really understand exactly what it will take to deal with the rock, and we, of course, will follow all codes, noise requirements, et cetera, to make sure it's done appropriately.
Thanks, sir. Any other questions at this time?
Okay, with that, I think I will turn it over to Paul Van Slyke with Good Van Slyke.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thanks for having us this evening. First, before I talk about our firm, I'll address that rock issue just briefly. So we all know removing rock is expensive. So it's the last thing we really want to do. We know, we are very well aware of the rock and the sloping of the site. So we did two things to respond to that. First of all, we've moderated the below surface parking to work with the rock and the topo we have on that rock to limit the amount of demolition of rock. We've also taken the highest structure and put it in the lowest part of the site. So those are two site-oriented things that we've responded to.
And if you could, just a little housekeeping, since we got quite a
that.
roll of folks. If you could just introduce your name and your address, please.
The reason I'm talking about design and things like that, I'm Paul Van Slyke with Good Van Slyke Architecture. We are the architects on this project. We've been in business for 25 years. I've been an architect for 35 years. We began our practice in the public sector, a lot of K through 12 projects like that, and gradually moved to master planning and private sector work with quite a bit of master planning. Our firm takes pride in the master planning. I'm a member of the National Conference of New Urbanism, CNU. I'm a founding member of the Atlanta chapter. I only mention that because a lot of the things we're talking about on this project are planning oriented. They're really important to us. How you respond in planning is an issue of being a conscientious designer and considering the context. This team has fully considered the context on this project in the planning. Working on the Bailey, it's been over 2 years, and it's been good. It's been challenging. We've worked with staff quite a bit, gone back and forth in a positive way, received a lot of comments. We've responded to those comments. We've modified the design several times, including modifying the program to a great degree. Some of those modifications have actually impacted the performance side, to say that Brandon has bought into these modifications. The process has been healthy, and I believe for that reason, we've come to an end result that the Planning Commission felt comfortable enough to recommend with the applicant's conditions. So that's why the red markups in the conditions are the Planning Commission's, and that's what they're recommending going forward. So it's important to understand that. We're here to answer any questions. Jeff Morrison's also here from our firm. He has a good grasp on the more technical aspects of the project. I will tell you one last comment on Brandon, as we've been working for over 2 years. We have different types of developers come to us. Brandon's innovative. He's always looking for a new way to build the mousetrap, which is a challenge to us, but it's also a benefit to the community. This project, by means of what it is and how it's being executed, stands very much, for the aspects of walkability, technology, which Alpharetta is pushing, and all the initiatives that we've heard about tonight. So, with that, I guess Jeff is next, or you want to go? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. So getting into it, before Jeff Morrison from Griffiths Light comes up, there's a couple of things that I want to go through. Number one, as we talk about the location of this site, as you can see on the diagram in front of you guys, there's a lot of consideration drawn into this project as far as how do we make this a staple on the Alpha Loop and really catering to those individuals that are going to be on this interior 3-mile track. As we look at some of the projects that are around the Alpha Loop, such as the Avalon, downtown Alpharetta, the Tech 360 project that got approved, Jackson Healthcare, we are the first development that's really taken in consideration drawing in more patrons on that loop. Avalon obviously came before the Alpha Loop was a figure, and therefore is kind of being more reactive. Same thing as downtown Alpharetta. So as I go through some of the things in our plans as far as the relocation of where that loop sits at is originally, yes, we did have it go through diagonally through our site, but at that time, the city had a different plan for how it entered the site. So after the city changed it to kind of come up north winds, what we did was, kept a portion of it that went up the North Winds Parkway, but also created a spur that comes into the site where you get to see some digital artistry, and which I can show in another rendering, which I have that as well. Another piece that's really important as we sit on this Alpha Loop, also located in Pod A of the North Winds master plan, is a project that is currently under construction called North Winds Summit that sits right next door to Jackson Healthcare. And one thing that's really important to take away from that project is there's approved 2 18-story towers that are currently under construction, which are over 260 feet, which far supersede any structure that we're building. Here we have an updated rendering, different than what Michael Whitman showed earlier. These are where we are currently sitting at, with the office space being put above the retail. As you can see that, originally we had 6 stories of building that sat there off of Kimball Bridge. And then after working with staff, that was reduced by 2 stories, bringing that structure down, where a 2-story resident retail space is on the bottom floor, and then 2 stories of office above it. Again, looking at the south part of the Alpha Loop, as you can see coming up North Winds here, currently that sidewalk is on the outskirts of those oak trees that follow North Winds. We actually brought the Alpha Loop on the site to give a little bit more of a buffer from North Winds Parkway, making it safer. And we also wanted to engage the Alpha Loop with our retail spaces and bringing them a little bit closer, very similar to how the backside of the loop was orchestrated with the residential component in between Avalon and downtown Alpharetta. Also, as you can see, this stairwell here kind of coming up, this little white area here is where our digital screen is at, which we would show various artists, digital art from various artists that would cycle through their current information as far as air quality and some other things that are on the site, as we look to bring a huge technology component to this project, which furthers the agenda of Alpharetta being the technology jewel of the South. Then going into our site plan a little bit, just to reiterate kind of where that is, coming up this, the Alpha Loop here, again, you're able to come in right here, and you come out right here in this plaza area, which where all the retail spaces is pretty much located. That's our park area. And then as you guys kind of went through, or if Michael and Kathy went through the future plans, for the next 20 years and kind of growing that plaza area and those outdoor parks. I mean, this is an area we think we can activate with live music during the weekends and do a lot of different, small festivals on this site as well, really engaging, again, those patrons that are coming up on the Alpha Loop. So lastly, one thing that I want to get into is just from our original submission in January of 2021 to where we sit at today, and kind of just the changes that we have made in working with not only the public, but the staff who's has been very reasonable to work with and enjoyed working with them over the years. Our original request came in at 120 rooms. After we selected our hotel operator, that was a guest room count that we thought was feasible. And after going through Planning Commission, we reduced that back in March to 104 rooms. And then even with further conversation and another reduction off of the hotel floor, working with staff, we came down to 100 rooms. So, there's a 20-room difference to what was originally set. We also reduced the overall square footage in that hotel by a little bit over 8,000 square feet. We originally submitted was 15 stories. We're down to 13 stories at this time, and if you use the average grade, it actually sits at an 11-story building. Our original wellness center came in at 10 stories, which we are currently at 8. Our mixed-use development area, the residential component has been completely taken out, so a reduction of over 137,000 square feet. We had 37 residential units, which we now have 0. The office space to, again, make the project viable, and some of the tenants that were submitting LOIs above the retail space, we just replaced that with Class A office. The restaurant and retail area was originally coming in at a little bit under 30,000 square feet. We're now sitting at 24,700 gross square foot, which was a reduction in almost 5,000 square feet. And if you add in all the office space, not only in the medical wellness center, but as well as the office space that's above the retail component, we are well in compliance with the code that's written within the North Winds Master Plan. Our zoning, originally we requested a mixed-use zoning. We do understand that mixed use was geared for acreage that was around 25 acres. And so with that, we kind of redid our plan and decided to stay within the OI. Back in 2018, there was not a rezoning of this site. There was an addition of an acre parcel that did not sit in the Northwinds master plan that we included in ours. So that's what that was. Our front setback was originally 20 feet, and we've now upped that with the addition to the Alpha Loop being on site to 35. Pervious area under mixed use was 80%. And when we decided to stay OI, that changed it to 70%. We got under the 80, but was not able to shrink it enough to get under 70. And what we did instead was add rooftop track, rooftop terrace areas, added additional impervious areas, which if you do include that calculation, like Michael talked about earlier, we'll be sitting somewhere around 55% of impervious area on the site. And if it wasn't for the underground parking, we would, that's the number we'll be sitting at. And lastly, if you just look at from January 4th to what we originally submitted to where we're at now, we was originally at 445,000, a little bit less than 445,000 gross square feet. We are now at 357,000 gross square feet for the entire project, which is a reduction of almost 90,000 square feet. So again, listening to Planning Commission, city officials, staff, we have worked very hard in coming up with a project that is not only viable, but a great asset for the city of Alpharetta. And with that, that concludes my comments. Next, I'll be bringing up Jeff Morrison to go into some of the conditions.
Thank you. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Jeff Morrison. I'm a project architect and project manager with Good Van Slyke Architecture, and currently a resident of East Atlanta Village. So I'll go through just a few more of the design issues for the project. So the primary considerations for the overall site plan have been related to, first of all, putting as much of the parking as we can below grade and leaving the top levels available as terraces and open plaza spaces. Also, locating the highest portions of the buildings on the low end of the site. The site actually slopes steeply, dropping over 75 feet from the high end over here on Kimball Bridge Road, where the Braden development is. And then the third aspect is orienting towards the Alpha Loop, which will be built here along North Winds Parkway, and including small-scale restaurants and retail spaces and public plaza spaces to help activate the use of the Alpha Loop. We have included in the site plans that were submitted a representative section of how the building relates to the Alpha Loop along North Winds Parkway. The mixed-use multi-purpose path with its dedicated easement on our property, the required landscape buffer strip, and then the existing row of rather large, mature street trees that will be preserved along the length of North Winds Parkway. As has been mentioned, the one variance that we are requesting is relating to site impervious area, and it's not driven by the building footprints themselves so much as the area of the underground parking that we are putting under the site. And so again, even where we are providing landscape plazas on top of that parking, it still counts technically as the calculated impervious area. So we're First of all, the blue area shows where in this process over the last few months we have reduced that impervious site development by over 5%. And then the green area shows all the locations that are above the parking or structures, and we plan to be providing either roof terraces or plantings or green roof type amenities or pervious paving. And in fact, all of that will account for over 26% of the site coverage. So even with all of that, to refer to an earlier question, we do still need to comply with all of the stormwater management regulations, regardless of the amount of impervious area on the site. And so we will comply with all those regulations in terms of detention and stormwater management and stormwater quality. And lastly, there are a number of the staff report conditions that were itemized by Mr. Woodman, and this is a summary of those. Just to point out, the ones in green are all the ones that were restating the design as it was originally submitted, so of course we're fully compliant with those. The remaining few are ones where the Planning Commission has accepted and approved the alterations in the text such that it represents the project as submitted, so leaving us fully in compliant. So in summary, the staff has approved the project as it's presented, and they support our requests. And the Planning Commission also has approved the project. And while it is certainly a groundbreaking project, we don't believe that it is setting any new precedent in terms of any of the development standards. So with that, I will hand it back over to Brandon.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, did you have a question?
I do. Mr. Brandon, one thing we've not discussed, you're expecting elite athletes, like pro athletes, professional, on a level that would stay at a five-star hotel. I've got a question about the hotel, but also security. When we approved Avalon, security was going to be reliant on its own local. Well, we found out that that was more reliant on our police in the long run. They had their security, and they have a lot of cameras around the facility, more than anywhere in the state, from what I understood. But it still has put a burden on our local police, and that's part of their job. But what are your plans for security and for surveillance and things like that on this, if approved?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to speak on that. There is a very complex security system that's going into the site as we really look to provide a lot of security for our entertainers and athletes and other individuals that come to this site. One thing that's very unique about this project is it is not the majority of it in that wellness center. It's not just open to the public. These are controlled access spaces. The top 2 floors is members only. There's a different way of going about healthcare that's going to be in this facility. So, these are all scheduled individuals that are coming in or members of said club that are coming into the facility. So therefore, our kind of public access places, which include the retail on the first floor, the plaza areas, we will have a security team that is on staff and that's there, constantly roving to work in conjunctions with our camera systems, and also look to have facial recognition software throughout the facility as well. So there's a lot. We take that very seriously. The security aspect of it. So.
Okay. And my second question was regarding the five-star hotel, and I know, and perhaps you might want to answer that, Mr. Crow, John Crow. We would like to entertain a condition that would secure a luxury brand. How would that be worded so that we can make sure that it's like a five-star or similar? You've mentioned the St. Regis previously.
I hope we're not held to St. Regis standards because we expect to exceed them, quite frankly. The St. Regis is a four-star hotel.
Right.
It's a Marriott, as is the Ritz-Carlton. They're Marriotts, as is the Avalon. And those are all great hotels, but they're not what we're trying to achieve. Almost universally around the world, the greatest hotels are not part of Marriott, Hilton, or Hyatt, or anyone else. They're independent hotels. And the way we're achieving it is by and unfortunately they couldn't be here this evening, but our management partner in this is a group called Valor Hospitality. Valor operates 80-some hotels around the world and has a specialty in really high-end, unique properties. Ewan McGlashan, who founded and is the chairman of it, developed, as an example, the Cape Grace Hotel and operated the Cape Grace Hotel in South Africa, which I believe in its second year being open was named the #1 hotel in the world. That's kind of the level that we're talking about, and that's how we'll pull off the service aspect of it.
Okay, so to condition that, it would just be a luxury brand hotel of five-star quality?
I guess the best way to do it would be to meet or exceed anything in the Atlanta metro market. I don't know. It's hard. It's a very subjective thing to word. Every time I review a management contract, and there's a quality clause in there for delivering service, it's very hard to come up with wording for that. But we certainly would have no objection to wording that would tie us to meet or exceed the St. Regis, for example.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Councilman Richard.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Rillis, can you put the site plan back up on the screen, please? And you talked about the Alpha Loop spur that is going internal. Is the spur the same width as the Alpha Loop along North Winds Parkway?
It comes into the site.
Right. My question is, what is the width of the Alpha Loop internal to the site?
The width of the Alpha Loop internal to the site, I don't quite have the dimensions in front of me. I don't think I was held to the same 12-foot width of the actual Alpha Loop that's coming up North Winds Parkway, as this is a spur to, kind of really engage into the plaza area. The other reason why we didn't put the site, the Alpha Loop through the site is because of the setbacks that are also required coming off of the Alpha Loop, which would have messed up our building envelope. So we decided to just go with the spur, and I think, I don't know, Jeff, you have the answer to that, but I don't know the dimensions off the top of my head.
Is there another plan that, because this doesn't really reflect the Alpha Loop internal in any way from what I'm looking at. Do you have another plan that depicts that?
Yeah, I got another shot I can show. So again, there was a video that was done, but we can't show that video because of the changes to the site plan and the fact that the residential component and all that stuff has been changed, so it wouldn't be accurate. So we decided not to show it. But as you can see, these individuals kind of coming up their stairwell here. This piece right here is that digital screen that I talked about, and it goes in between the front side of this building and this wellness center that goes through and out to the plaza area.
Okay, I'll ask staff for some additional clarification on that. My next question is concerning the hotel and the height dilemma that I think we find ourselves in. So I understand from the Planning Commission presentation that was given that the commitment was made that your hotel would not exceed the height of the Jackson Healthcare building, and that you guys had done a drone assessment and measured it at 133 feet?
Correct, we did. We went out there with a drone and measured that building that came to 133 feet, and at no point did we say that we wouldn't supersede the height of Jackson Healthcare, because within the current master plan, there's approval for up to 20 stories, and what was told was what was told to us through the staff report was, again, hitting on that tricky subject of stories versus feet. So nobody ever said anything about the feet. It was just 8 stories, which, that building is a lot. They have 2-3-story floors.
No, I understand that. I get the difference between the feet versus the stories. But my question is, I'm repeating what was said at the Planning Commission hearing by, I think it was Mr. Morris, who made the presentation in regards to the hotel. And the comment was, we're in agreement, we can't exceed the height of Jackson Healthcare.
I think you said we wouldn't supersede 135 feet.
So my question is, we now know that the Jackson Healthcare building is 123 feet 6 inches, right? Based on what we have been provided by staff, and they've shared that with you as well.
I would disagree.
So you don't agree with their calculations as far as the height?
No, I do not. I know, again, we went out there and measured ourselves, and we know where the height of that building from floor to ceiling. So, I think we are very comfortable with our calculations. And before, this was new information that was told to me, just like you today. So we didn't have time to verify that at all. Jeff, I think you had a comment?
Yeah, I just want to make sure.
Yeah. So again, this diagram was shown through Planning Commission. It was also submitted through the city. And again, it shows Jackson Healthcare at 133 feet per hour measurements, and our team that went out there and actually measured the building.
And if I may, I will clarify that this height analysis is relative to the individual building's baseline, which is pretty much universally how building codes and zonings are applied. They're measured from every individual building's average grade, and not based on some absolute height above sea level. So we are not stating that we are lower or matching the absolute relative, the height of Jackson Healthcare as measured above sea level. We're measuring the actual building heights from their own grade levels.
Thank you. And so your position, so as far as the hotel height is concerned, what was approved at Planning Commission was 135 feet, and that, from your perspective, that is necessary. There is no flexibility?
Yes, we've already came down 2 stories. So it'll be difficult at this point to go back and come down, because then we're cutting room counts.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Binder?
Just a quick question to staff for clarification for me, because of the 20 stories under the North Winds master plan. Is that 20 stories for a hotel, 20 stories for an office, 20 stories for any building they want to put up? What is that 20 stories for? Condos?
I wish it was condos.
The 20 stories applies to whether it's an office building or a hotel.
Okay.
Was that your only question? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Councilman Hypes, I believe you have the floor.
Thank you. Mr. Wheelis, there was a question I have a question about the staff recommendation not exceeding 40,000 square feet per acre for office use. Can you elaborate on what the applicant's position is on that? Agree with the recommendation? don't agree? If you do agree, how that affects the project?
I think, as far as office use, I know Jeff has a little bit of information that can dive into that a little bit more. As far as office use, we are under the 40,000 square feet based on our calculations. I don't know if, Jeff, if you want to go through this. Yeah.
This is the breakdown of the development use that has been submitted with the application and the plans and formatted as requested by the staff department. And it takes all of the uses among the buildings on the site and organizes them as either commercial or office, and then initially there was a residential column. And so the staff is in agreement with how space is allocated between the commercial side and the office side. And so our interpretation, in line with the wording that is approved by the Planning Commission, is that the total square footage of space is categorized as office fall within the 40,000 square feet per acre maximum.
As I don't have that document in front of me except up on the screen, let me plug in your numbers. So your office numbers add up to 234,100 square feet?
That sounds right.
And if I divide that by 4.72 acres, I get 49,400 or 49,597, which is what's shown in the staff report.
I think this is the total for the office column right here, 186,600.
All right. Well, I added Wellness Center, Commercial Building 1, and Commercial Building 2, and came up with 234,100.
Yeah, right. And that's because the spaces allocated for restaurant and retail space sit on the commercial side, and then there's also tenant office space.
I'll ask staff in a little bit. Staff has included retail 24,700 in its gross calculation of office space. So you've omitted retail?
Yeah, and that is the wording that was requested for the modification of the condition is specifically that the office space be what's counted as the 40,000 square feet maximum per acre.
Okay, well, you've answered my question. Thank you.
Any other questions from council at this time? All right, gentlemen, please proceed.
I think the last thing I wanted to bring up before I went into closing remarks were when we talked about stormwater. We've worked with our engineers to make sure that we had ample stormwater retention on site, but also there was a right at the south of the North Winds Master Plan in Pod A, there was the drainage was redone on that site this year. So they made it a little bit bigger, and which allowed some of the extra runoff there, just to answer that question that was stated earlier. Again, we think we have a very unique project that's coming to the site. As you can see, there was a lot of hard work and dedication that was brought into this site. We've been working on this for a couple of years now and ready to move forward and construct this project in the North Winds Master Plan. We also feel that this is going to be a staple not only for the state of Georgia but across the country as we look to influence various professional athletes, entertainers, corporate execs, regular individuals that are, that deem it necessary to opt into the medical plans that are be done in this particular facility to come here, be able to enjoy the great city of Alpharetta and get a stay unlike anything that they've experienced. So with that, I thank you guys for your ear. I thank you guys for the hard work and dedication that you have done in this city. As far as plans, I want to thank staff for everything that they have done and working with us. And we're ready to move into the area and be good neighbors.
Thanks, sir. Ms. Cobb, do we have any public comment cards on this item?
Yes, sir. Lisa Schipple, 400 Braden Way, Alpharetta.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Schipple. I live at 400 Braden Way in Alpharetta. And before I start to speak, because you guys know who I am, the folks for the petitioner don't know who I am. I'm not some crazy homeowner that comes and speaks at every hearing. This is probably, I think, the first time I've ever spoken in opposition to a zoning, and I can't even say that I'm in opposition to this zoning, because as an attorney, I have filed probably 200 zoning applications in a former lifetime, okay? But what I'm here to say is just some things I want to put on the public record, and what I'm asking is that the City Council vote to approve something with proper conditions that protects the residents, but also the City of Alpharetta. And so I just have some points I want to read from my scribble pad. And the first,
Try to keep it to 3 minutes now. You're not billing
shoot,
this
I didn't
time.
know there was a time limit. No. Okay. First, I want to state that no one has discussed the fact that this is less than 5-acre site, okay? So everything we're talking about, all these great ideas, all these huge buildings and everything else, it's going on less than 5 acres. And I want everyone to understand that when they're approving this, that's why there are some restrictions and conditions that need to go along with an approval. And I'm also really confused because the amendment to the North Winds Master Plan and the petition, the amendment that they're asking for reduces setbacks and all sorts of stuff, but also one part of their request is to increase the allowable building height from 65 feet to 160 feet. Mr. Burnett said that he could build whatever he wanted to, pretty much up to 20 stories, so why is he asking for an amendment to the master plan to go from 65 to 160. I'm confused there. I also want to state that, Mr. Burnett, you seem to have a problem with the residents of Braden. We didn't zone that property. We just moved into that property. You all zoned it, and we're still citizens of the city of Alpharetta and should be protected by the city council.
Please don't address the council.
Sorry. The last thing I want to say is regarding the hotel. I am one of the people that asked for some sort of height requirement to be matched with Jackson Healthcare. I would also like to see some sort of condition as to the type of hotel, because if the market corrects itself enough that we can all buy cheap houses in Alpharetta, we're going to have a Motel 6 with a Denny's outside zoned to this property. And really, that's all I wanted to say. I hope you are able to zone this property. I hope that you all can figure out a way that works on a property that is less than 5 acres. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Were there any other public comment cards? But if there's anyone else that would like to come forward and speak on this item, now's your opportunity to do so. Please come forward. If you don't mind, just state your name and address for the public record.
Hey, what's up? My name's Andrew Barge. I live at 535 Hanlon Way, also in Braden, so right down the street. I'm in favor of this. I think it's pretty awesome. If I'm understanding the city's position, it seems like you have a problem with the height, but yet North Wind Summit has 18 stories approved. I actually pointed that out back on the original planning commission you guys had back 2 or 3 months ago. So seems a bit weird that there would be an issue with the height of this building when North Wind Summit will eventually get built and be significantly taller. And the hotel at Avalon plus the office building, I think, is the same height. Anyway, My front porch will look directly at this property. Got no problem with seeing that every day. Looks pretty awesome to me. I would like to have some place to take my kids. Got 2 kids, an 8 and a 6-year-old. Be happy to be obviously, I'm not the target demographic for your health club. I'm not balling that hard, so that's my bad. I'll work on that. But I would love to have a place to take my kid for the retail place on the bottom floor. If you allow the peasants to eat there, that'd be great.
Oh.
But anyway, so I do think it's a great destination. I think it stitches together kind of what I think the city wants to do with redeveloping the North Point Mall, also Northwind Summit, 360 Tech Village. It'd be nice to have something that kind of brings together, and maybe people actually want to walk south on the Alpha Loop instead of always walking toward, downtown Alpharetta. So I think it's a great project, fully support it. And yeah, that's all I got. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir. If there's anyone else that would like to come forward, now's your chance. Please just state your name and address for the record.
Yes, good evening. My name is Drew Maloney. I'm a resident of Roswell, Georgia. I've been here about 25 years, and I've actually had an opportunity to see the development of this corridor of Alpharetta off 400. And what I'm really excited about as it relates to the project is that there's a very unique concept to the project in terms of healthcare, combining technology, as well as this high-end retail, as well as the amenities that'll be a part of the projects. And I think as beautiful as the Avalon is, and I think there's other projects in Alpharetta in this corridor that are just as beautiful, this is really something that's almost like a diamond in a rough in terms of attracting folks from outside the city of Atlanta and Roswell and Sandy Springs to come north to Alpharetta. And I think that's an important piece that you all should take into consideration when you look at this particular project. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much. My name is Binley Sanks, a resident of Johns Creek, and I am in support of this project, and primarily because I'm going to be playing a role in this project. I own a Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee farm. My grandfather was the second Prime Minister of Jamaica, and I think that I have followed his legacy by, bringing the best coffee to the world. And one of the things that we're planning on doing in the Bailey is having the most experience-oriented coffee shop that there's ever been. We're going to bring an experience to the Bailey that I think everyone's going to look forward to. I think that if you guys enjoy coffee, I think I would love for you guys to be our client, our customer. If you know good coffee, Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee is the best coffee in the world. As a veteran, we're going to have, I'm a combat veteran of the U.S. Air Force, and we're going to have veterans working in the coffee shop. So I really think that this is going to be an amazing project. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Going.
If you don't mind, I have one letter that I would like to read out from Senator Brandon Beach, if that's okay.
Sure.
Sure, thank you. Dated September 20th, 2021, Alpharetta Mayor and City Council members, I am out of town tonight and unable to attend this event at City Council meeting. However, I did want to express in writing my support of the Bailey project on tonight's agenda. I am writing you as a 27-year citizen of Alpharetta. I am very happy of the vision that has occurred with the development over the last 27 years. I believe this development continues Alpharetta's vision of quality and cutting-edge development that has made Alpharetta the envy of the South. I am not a part of this development, but I have met with Mr. Brandon Willis and his team several times. I'm confident in the team that Brandon has assembled and that it will be successful and innovative development that will be an asset to the city of Alpharetta. I would ask that you favorably approve this project. Thank you for all you do for the city of Alpharetta and our community. Best, Brandon L. Beach, 3100 Barfield Road, Alpharetta, Georgia, 3004.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak as part of the public comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council? Yes, you may. Councilman Hypes.
Trying to get to the bottom of staff's recommendations, so when we have a vote, I understand what we might be voting on. Mr. Woodman,
Yes.
the staff report includes retail in the 40,000, in your recommendation. That's in the staff recommendation for office. So it's got 53,000 square feet of office, 156,400 square feet of wellness, and 24,700 square feet of retail, for a total of 234,100 square feet is what you're reporting this project to be, which comes out to 49,597 square feet per acre.
Correct.
You're recommending a reduction down to 40,000.
That is
I
correct.
heard the applicant say, no, we have some sort of an agreement amongst somebody. Maybe it's planning commission, maybe it's staff, I don't know, that retail shouldn't be included in that calculation. And even when you back out retail, it's still above the 40,000. Somehow they netted down to 186,000 total square feet, excluding retail and other calculations that have not been provided to me. Maybe council rest of council got it. I didn't get it. I missed the memo. So they're putting information up on here to draw distinctions from staff's recommendation. How do you respond to that? I don't understand it.
So the intent of staff's condition number 3, which originally said non-residential density shall not exceed 40,000 square feet per acre, the intent of that was to apply to the wellness, office, retail, restaurant uses on the site, not the hotel. There are retail and restaurant uses within the hotel. However, since the master plan deals with hotel rooms separate from the rest of the non-residential density, we did not count the retail restaurant space within the hotel towards that 40,000 square feet per acre. So it is our recommendation that based on the size of this property at 4.72 acres at 40,000 square feet per acre, that the wellness center, retail and restaurant that is not in the hotel, and office not exceed 188,800 square feet. The applicant is requesting that those same uses be at 234,000 square feet, 234,100 square feet, difference of 45,300 square feet.
It's the highlighted line on page 4 of staff report under applicant's proposal. Yeah, what I'm saying is you're standing by the numbers that's in the chart on page 4 of the staff report.
Yes.
Okay. So there's not an agreement between the applicant and staff, but something may have been addressed by planning commission maybe?
No, there's nothing that's been, now, planning commission has changed this condition per what the applicant requested at planning commission to strike the non-residential and say office use density shall not exceed the 40,000 square feet per acre, which their plan as proposed to you today would comply with that, because they're specifying just the office.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you. I think it's clear as mud now. I appreciate it.
Any other questions or points of clarification? Then I'll call for a motion.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to approve MP-21-01-01/V-21-04, the Bailey Northwinds, subject to the Planning Commission conditions, with a change to number 4 from 135 to 140, because I don't want to see you again. Number 22, meet or exceed Cloister or St. Regis luxury designation, and condition 23, an LDP must be pulled by December 21st, 2024, or the zoning reverts back to the 2018 conditions.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Net, a second by Councilman Merkel. Is everyone clear on the conditions? Is everyone comfortable that they understand the conditions of the motion? Okay. Any discussion? Councilman Hypes.
Here's what I want to say. I'm rooting for your project. I see a lot of hope. I see a narrow eye of a needle that you're going to have to go through to make all these great things happen. I see a man stand at a podium and almost sound dismissive of the St. Regis Hotel. That's some big talk. And, you know, you have some very lofty ideas on your project that, if successful, will be just a wonderful thing for Alpharetta and for you. Where I'm troubled is you came before this council in 2018 and poured your heart out for a different project, and that was the right project. And you came and said, you know, I want a 60-room hotel, and I want, you know, I want 50-foot setbacks. And you came with a different project that was the right project then after your due diligence, but it ended up not being the right project in the long run. And that's not Q&A, I'm just telling you where my heartburn is. And that's where my heartburn is. The best laid plans sometimes lead in a different direction once the plans are laid. So I'm rooting for you. And I hope that this time you've come before council and you got it right. Because I went back and listened to and watched, or excuse me, read the July 2018 presentation, and clearly this is something different. Lots more traffic, which gives me heartburn with a 2-lane road. Lots more parking, lots more density on less than 5 acres. If you pull this off, this will be great, and I'm rooting for you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell.
First of all, would I like to ask for a friendly amendment that we add any blasting of the stone be from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
I'll accept that.
That's legal, yes.
Okay. I think that does comply with our city code as stands. Concerning the project, I think this is another one of those monumental projects that will put Alpharetta on the map. Is it perfect? Is every citizen going to just love it? You know, it remains to be seen. They love Avalon now that it's built. They love City Center now that it's built. And those things come along in progression, and I get that. But I think this is going to be one of those things that we'll be extremely proud of. I promised Ms. Schipple that the hotel height would not exceed the 135 foot, and also that we condition the hotel that it is a 5-star, similar to a Cloister or better than a St. Regis in your mind. I would not be voting on a hotel that was lesser than, because I want our hotel rates to go up in this city, and I would love to see Alpharetta get the first 5-star hotel in the state off of St. Simon's Island and Sea Island. So thank you for being willing to bring this project here, and I wish you much success with our neighbors at Bradenton. I hope you'll continue to communicate with them, because they are important to our community, and I'm glad you all came in support of that. So thank you.
Councilman Binder.
I feel compelled to say something, because I like the project, and I like what you had when we approved it in 2018. The current one, whoever said, you know, it's less than 5 acres, I think it just seems like a lot for the acreage that you have there. our real heartburn is the variance on the impervious surface. We're dealing with stormwater issues all throughout the city that I do not think we have a good handle on, and I do not want to be adding to that. So the reason when I vote tonight, it's not because I don't like the project. I think you're now overshooting the mark on the property that you have on it. So I appreciate the work that you've done with it.
Any other discussion? Okay. Councilman Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believed in this a couple of years ago, and I like the fact that there is not a residential component to. I agree with absolutely everything that Councilmember Hypes had to say. It's a huge undertaking to do what you've done, to the tune that if you talk to the people who own the business across the street, they would say, I don't know if he can get it done, but if he can, more power to him. But I'll wait and see. I feel that way. You came in here last time and you sold us the moon, and you have really done that again tonight. And that's why you get conditioned like you get conditioned. And that's why when you drag your fancy architects and your big construction company out here and they talk about how great it is, that's why you have a land disturbance permit pull date or it reverts back. And that's why you are conditioned to what will be a luxury distinction hotel, because if it doesn't make it into the conditions, it doesn't happen. And I get everybody's heartburn because I share it in the same way, even though we may come down on different sides of things. There's nobody in here that's going to root against you if this doesn't go, because if you're successful, everybody in the country is going to know what this place is. So I am pulling for you, and I'm still skeptical. I will be Liam Neeson from Taken if you wind up delivering something else. I'll run you down and I will haunt you in retirement. Thank you.
Does anybody really want to follow that?
Yeah, I just want to say I'm not going with them, so we'll just leave it at that. And I am going to finish mine up with, I do wish you all the best with this project. I do hear what Councilman Hype said, and I was hung up on that too, but things change. And I think if y'all can make what is here work, I'll be extremely excited, extremely pleased and proud of what you've been able to pull up. Not to make too much light of Councilman Burnett's comment that doesn't want to see you again, the concern that has been going around is because it is so tight that this could turn into a coming back for this and coming back for that and coming back for this. Well, you shake your head, but I've been through this for a few years and I've seen it, so it does happen. Let's keep that to a minimum, okay? I appreciate y'all putting the time and effort, and yes, it has been a long 3 years, so I get that. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Richard.
I feel compelled to speak. Brandon, I am grateful for the amount of work that you have given to this project with our staff since January of this year. It was this council that approved it in 2018. Liked that project. I am walking into this meeting. I was very supportive of the project and the conditions that staff had recommended. And I won't be able to support the final conditions tonight that were read by Mr. Burnett. I think the intensity for the site based on the 4.7 acres, and I get it's Northwind's master plan, but I can't forget we've got Kimball Bridge there, a 2-lane road that is abutting this project. So for me, I was all in with the staff conditions, but obviously that's not something that you were willing to support. So I wish you the best. I think that a location that is, going to generate medical tourism is something that we as a city have not seen yet, and as a region we haven't seen yet. So I'm excited for that concept, and I hope that you're really successful with it. Thank you.
So that being said, I'll go ahead and call for a vote on the motion to approve MP-21-01/V-21-04, the Bailey North Winds, with the conditions as outlined by Councilman Burnett. All those in favor of that motion, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote no. And the motion passes 4-3. Ladies and gentlemen, that will wrap up the public hearing. And we're going to take a quick break here. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe it's about time we pull this meeting back together.
You were right there.
So we'll go ahead and call this meeting back to order. Appreciate your patience on that. And we do have quite a list here of new business items we're going to try to get through as efficiently as possible. First one will be fiscal year 2022 bridge maintenance, ITB 21-011. Director Sisevich.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and Council. For you tonight is the FY22 bridge maintenance. Contracted this, we did a bid early this year. E&D contracting services came in at $331,726. They were the low bid of 3 bids that we received. One of the bidders withdrew their bid. We're looking at taking care of 4 bridges in the city. We get a report from the GJOT, an inspection report every other year from them, so that's where this work is coming from. The work we're going to work on. Bridges we're going to handle are Waters Road, Windward Parkway westbound along Indian Creek, Windward Parkway eastbound over Big Creek, it was Windward Parkway eastbound over Camp Creek. So we expect the work to be done within 100 days of issuing the notice to proceed.
Any questions from council? Great job, Pete. No questions from council. Ms. Cobb, do we have any public comment cards?
We do not, sir.
But if there's anyone here that wants to come forward and speak on 2022 bridge maintenance, now's your chance. Seeing no one, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to please award ITB 21-011 to E&D Contracting Services Incorporated for the performance of the FY 2022 bridge maintenance project in an amount not to exceed $331,726 and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents. Second.
Have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell and a second by Councilman Burnett, and that was to award ITB 21-011 to E&D Contracting Services, an amount not to exceed $331,726. Any discussion? All those in favor, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote no. And it does pass unanimously. Next item up is the Alpha Loop Design Services. This is change order number 3, Director Sisevich.
Yes, we'll call this an insurance policy change order. Construction pricing has gone quite high over the last year, and we asked our contractors that we've had on several projects to price out what you see highlighted in green on the screen. It connects the Atlee subdivision to the, I guess it's the Chelsea Walk subdivision there. That price came in for the green at over $4 million. The cost estimate was around $1.5 million for that section. And the main reason for such a high cost is a 24-foot high pedestrian bridge crossing the terrain. And the original design showed the Alpha Loop going closer to the apartment complex. So working with the new apartment complex owners, they are encouraged to see that closer connection. We believe going to the north, on a redesign, we could save approximately $1.5 to $2 million. So we're not saying we won't move forward with the other design when we go out to bid, but we're looking at issuing both alignments with the bid that will go out once T+2 passes. So it's for $50,000 to save approximately $1.5 million, we believe. So, and
sounds like a bargain. Any questions from council? Ms. Cobb, do we have any public comment cards? And if anybody would like to come forward and speak on the Alpha Loop Design Services change order number 3, now's your chance to come forward. Seeing no one, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that we please approve the Ponding Company's proposal for a change order number 3 to purchase order 1800123 for design revisions to the Alpha Loop in an amount not to exceed $48,944 and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Second.
I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell, a second by Councilman Burnett. And that was to approve Alpha Loop Design Services change order number 3 for the Ponding Company's proposal to purchase order 1800123 for design revisions to the Alpha Loop, not to exceed $48,944. All those in favor, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote no. And it does pass unanimously. Director Sisevich, your next item is fiscal year 2022 facility HVAC replacements.
Yes, Mayor and Council, we're looking at replacing several units in the city. A Comfort supplied us with a bid of $123,925. They are our on-call maintenance vendor, so they do the preventative maintenance across the whole city for us. We received another quote from another vendor for the same work, and they were higher. So we're proposing to move forward with A Comfort. The work we're going to do is the Alpharetta Technology Center, Roswell Street Community Center, and fire stations 85 and 86. The only downside of right now is we're looking at an 8 to 12 week lead time for the larger units at the Alpharetta Technology Center, as well as the Roswell Community Center. Once we get all the equipment in, it will be another 2 weeks to finish all the work. So we're looking at a good 10, 12 weeks down the road, but that's in the wintertime, and we're not really worried about AC.
Timing is everything.
Timing is everything for this right now. So, and then what the good news is, A Comfort is our quality control, so they will be out doing the inspections and they'll do the maintenance. So having them install it plus maintain it for us is a win-win.
Sounds like a plan. Any questions from council? Ms. Cobb, do we have any public comment cards on the HVAC replacement?
We do not, sir.
But if you're just dying to come forward and speak on this item, now's your chance. Seeing no one, will close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to ask the council to please approve funding in an amount not to exceed $123,925 to A Comfort for HVAC unit replacement and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Second.
I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell and a second by Councilman Burnett, and that was for the replacement of the HVAC facility replacements not to exceed $123,925 to A Comfort for HVAC unit replacements. All those in favor, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote no. And it does pass unanimously. Mr. Sisevich, the next one up is also yours, Meadowbrook Hills Drainage Improvement Design.
This is one of our capital improvement projects that was funded in the FY22 budget. You may recall from the retreat, this subdivision was discussed. We're looking at Upshaw Drive, Brook Drive for a phase 1 improvement. We had conceptual plans prepared by Tetra Tech. The cost-conscious set of plans that were going to be affordable long-term consist of installing curb and gutter, storm structures, as well as upsizing pipe along Brook Drive and Upshaw to about 60-inch diameter pipes for detention. Since we are no longer doing surface runoff, the water is going to directly go right into the pipe network. We have to hold on to that water a little longer before it approaches full killer in the stream. We're doing phase 1, which is just Brook Drive and Upshaw. It's that backwards L, if you want to think about it, on the drawings. That comes in at a total of $216,000. It should be noted, $61,000 of it is topographic and SU work. SU stands for Subsurface Utility Exploration. So before we do any design work, we're going to make Swiss cheese of Upshaw and Brook and figure out where those utilities are, what the elevations of the utilities are, to see if the 60-inch diameter pipe can even be installed. If the 60-inch diameter pipe cannot be installed, we don't move forward with design. we come up with a plan B or C at this point and figure out what we can do. But we don't mind relocating utilities, but if I have a sanitary sewer line dead smack in the middle where the 60-inch pipe needs to go, and I can't lower or raise the 60-inch pipe, we're gonna have to figure out something different. So that's, for that one, if council wanted to move forward and doing the whole entire area, it's another $225,000. The consultant informed me this morning. So we are looking at about a 9-month to a 1-year-long project, but we'll get the SUE done rather quickly if council decides to move forward.
Thanks, sir. Do we have any public comment cards?
No, sir, we do not.
But if anyone would like to come forward and speak. Councilwoman Richard, did you have a question or something?
I do, thank you, Mr.
Sure.
Mayor. Pete, when you say in order to do the entire area, is the entire area what we're seeing outlined in red here?
The entire area would be all that.
Okay.
And the reason why it's 225 is a little bit more expensive is they have to go through permitting for piping the stream. There's a portion right around here. They got to pipe a stream. So they are going to go through the permitting through the state to require more. So it can always be phased in too.
Thank you.
Yep.
Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, sir. Could I make a comment real quick?
Please.
Pete, I know this year has been exceptionally wet and unlike other years, and we've had real issues in this area. Before adding the second phase of it, I personally would like to wait and see where we are as far as the alignment and sewer and things like that. And then you can always come back and add the second phase if you think it's necessary based on the demand in that area.
The only disadvantage to that is that we would pay a little extra for bringing the utility companies back out, the surveyor back out. That would be the only difference. It's not substantial, but if you're looking for cost savings, that would be the only cost savings advantage you'd have, because the utilities would be all marked at once. The survey would be done at once instead of having 2 mobilizations.
Right. I just think it's the better side of wisdom to wait until we know exactly where those utilities are and go with the phase that we've thought might fix the problem first and then come back. But,
Understand completely, sir.
all right. Thank you. Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we approve Tetra Tech's design proposal for the Meadowbrook Hills drainage improvements in an amount not to exceed $216,000 and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell, second by Councilman Burnett. And that was to approve Tetra Tech's design proposal for Meadowbrook Hills drainage improvements in an amount not to exceed $216,000. All those in favor, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote no. And it does pass unanimously.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Nail biter. So next item up will be roof replacement at Fire Station 81.
Yes, Fire Station 81 has a metal roof replacement through Garland, who's actually through the Omnia Partners contract. It is a contract where competitive bids have already taken place. Garland solicited 3 additional bids for the work, and the cost came in at $284,389. The roof was originally installed in 1996, and when we did the replacement of the Fire Station 82, we noticed a lot of the sub panels underneath the metal roof were rotten due to poor installation. So there's a good chance that this roof isn't that same issue, so we'll have a cost savings. The main issues are at the eaves and at the seams for the metal roof. So we'll have a total of 6,400 square feet of the metal roof will be replaced. We're looking at about 100 days to finish that project once materials have been delivered.
Thanks, sir. Ms. Cobb, do we have any public comment cards on this?
We do not, sir.
But if anyone wants to speak on roof replacements at Fire Station 81, now's your chance. We'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that we please award a contract for the replacement of the roof at Fire Station 81 metal roof segment to Garland DBS Incorporated under the competitively procured Omnia Partners contract number PW 1925 in an amount not to exceed $284,389 and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Second.
Have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell, a second by Councilman Burnett. And that was to award the roof replacement of Fire Station 81 as read by Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell in an amount not to exceed $284,389. And I am told that we need to stretch our arms a little bit here and raise your right hand if you vote yes, otherwise vote no. And it does pass unanimously.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you, sir. So the next item up will be the adoption of the 2021 Emergency Operations Plan. Director Robinson.
Good evening. Asking for you to approve a resolution to adopt our 2021 City Alpharetta Emergency Operation Plan and execute the mayor to execute all necessary documents. This was last done in 2012. The changes in the plan are minimal. However, if you would like for me to do a specific breakdown of all 91 pages, I'll be more than happy to do that. I have to look it up. I'm not saying I have it memorized, but I can look it up. So, but most of the changes are minimal. We just some changes of titles and things like that. So, pretty much the same basic document.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Stacy, I believe we have a resolution.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. A resolution of the City Council of Alpharetta for the adoption of the 2021 Emergency Operations Plan, EOP, whereas the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, the city may be subjected to emergencies and disasters of all kinds and of different magnitudes, and whereas the city will be prepared to respond during emergencies and disasters to protect public peace, health, and safety, and to preserve lives and property of the people, and whereas the city will mitigate emergencies and disasters by effective planning and preparedness, and whereas the city will plan and prepare in order to implement efficient emergency operations, and whereas the city will coordinate all emergency support functions of city departments through the Office of Emergency Management, and whereas the city, through the Office of Emergency Management, will coordinate emergency mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery with comparable functions of state and federal agencies, other jurisdictions, private sector agencies, and volunteer disaster relief organizations. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Director of the City of Alpharetta's Office of Emergency Management shall be authorized to exercise overall direction and coordination of emergency and disaster planning and operations, and it is further resolved that the Director of the City of Alpharetta's Office of Emergency Management shall be authorized to activate and deactivate the City Emergency Operations Center, any secondary emergency operations center that may be opened and or support of all city department in an emergency or disaster, and it is further resolved that the mayor or designee shall serve as the Director of the City of Alpharetta's Office of Emergency Management, and it is further resolved that the City of Alpharetta Emergency Operations Plan shall be binding on all city department providing emergency support functions and shall serve as the basis to assist the city in time of emergency or disaster, and it is further resolved that the Director of the City of Alpharetta's Office of Emergency Management shall provide direction and coordination of all activities and functions provided by state agencies and organizations and shall perform other duties prescribed herein. And it is further resolved that the primary and support function responsibilities for emergency management services and resources shall be as follows. The following is in a table, one column emergency support function with enumerated numbers. The second agency organization. 1, transportation, primary, Department of Recreation, Parks and Cultural Services. Support, Department of Public Works. 2, communications, primary, Department of Public Safety. Support, Department of Technical Services, Department of Fire and Emergency Services, Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. 3, public works, primary, Department of Public Works. Support, Department of Recreation, Parks and Cultural Services. 4, firefighting, primary, Department of Fire and Emergency Services. Support, Department of Police Services. 5, emergency management, primary, Alpharetta mayor or designee. Support, Department of Public Safety, Department of Police Services, Department of Fire and Emergency Services, Department of Public Works, Department of Recreation, Parks and Cultural Services, Department of Community Development, Department of Financial Services, Department of Human Resources. 6, mass care, primary, Department of Recreation, Parks and Cultural Services, support, Department of Community Development. 7, resource support, primary, Department of Financial Services, support, Department of Human Resources. 8, health and medical, primary, Department of Fire and Emergency Services, support, Department of Police Services, Department of Human Resources. 9, search and rescue, primary, Department of Fire and Emergency Services, support, Department of Public Works, Department of Police Services, Department of Recreation, Parks and Cultural Services. 10, hazardous materials, primary, Department of Fire and Emergency Services, support, Department of Police Services, Department of Public Works. 11, food and water, primary, Department of Human Resources, support, Department of Community Development, Department of Recreation, Parks and Cultural Services. 12, energy, primary, Department of Public Works, support, Department of Public Safety. 13, public safety and security, primary, Department of Public Safety. It is further resolved that each city department assigned primary primary emergency support function responsibilities, shall provide assistance in preparation and revision of such functions, collaborate with support agencies, and maintain accompanying standard operating plan. It is further resolved that each city department with primary and/or support responsibilities shall assign personnel to serve in the Emergency Operations Center, EOC, maintain a 24-hour response capability, conduct and participate in training and exercises, prepare updates to the City of Alpharetta Emergency Operations Plan as necessary, and maintain reporting systems as required by state and federal laws and regulations. All other departments not assigned a primary support role in emergency management shall implement duties or services that may be required during an emergency or disaster as requested by the mayor. Any executive order in conflict with this resolution is hereby rescinded.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Cobb, do we have any public comment cards?
We do not, sir.
But if anyone would like to come forward and speak on the emergency operations plan, now's your chance. Seeing no one, we'll close public comment. I have a motion from council.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that Alpharetta City Council adopt the 2021 Emergency Operation Plan as read by Alpharetta City Attorney Michael Stacy.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Hypes, a second by Councilman Burnett. That was to approve the adoption of the 2021 Emergency Operations Plan as read by City Attorney Mike Stacy. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. And it does pass unanimously. Next item up will be the North Park Turf 2 replacement. Director Rogers has been sitting back there all night just to get here for that. And the bus replacement coming up, perhaps.
Yeah, back to back. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, council. We're here tonight. I'm here tonight to ask for approval for the replacement of North Park Turf number 2. This is part of our asset replacement program. This is now the oldest field, the oldest turf field we have, and it's due for replacement. We are replacing the field, making any corrections to the subsurface. We're also replacing the fencing around the perimeter of the field and restoring the goalposts as well as some netting. We had 28 companies that inquired about this RFP. We only had one that actually put in a proposal, and that was by Sprint Turf. Sprint Turf has done our last 3 turf projects. They did the replacement at the other Turf 1 at North Park. They did a replacement at Webb Ridge, and they did the replacement here at Town Green. The finance department called some of the other folks that had asked for a proposal but didn't submit, and they basically said the supply chain right now, they just can't put in a bid, and they can't meet the schedule that we have. The reason Sprint Turf can is because Sprint Turf is the only company that makes their own turf, and they can make it on order. And they have said they can meet the schedule as well as they came under budget at $436,675,000. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have about the project.
Is that the same company that did the turf at Webb Ridge?
Yes.
Because it is 4 years old and it looks brand new every time you go out there. So I don't know a lot about turf, but it's nice.
Yes, it is. They did a good job.
Any other questions from council? Thank you, sir. Ms. Cobb, any public comment cards?
We do not, sir.
But if you'd like to speak on North Park turf replacement, now's your chance. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, I would offer a motion to approve the North Park Turf 2 replacement request as read tonight by Director Rogers.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Merkel, second by Councilman Burnett. I'll just say, it seems to me when I first got on council, it was almost double that cost the first time we had to replace the turf field. So I don't know that it's gone down any lately, but at least we're in a better place than we were 10 years ago as far as the cost of that goes. So all those in favor of approving RFP 22-102 North Park Turf 2 replacement?
Can I ask a question, Mr. Mayor, before we?
You may.
Morgan, the price in the report says $436,675. But then it says underneath the dollar amount is 500,000?
That is the amount budgeted. The
Okay.
That $500,000, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
That's the amount that we had budgeted in it, and the bid came in at 436.
So the motion is not to exceed 436, 675?
Right, absolutely.
Okay, I didn't hear that. Thank you.
So just to clarify, the motion is to approve the purchase of RFP 22-102 not to exceed $436,675. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. And it does pass unanimously. Now, Mr. Rogers, you're up on the bus replacement for Adult Activity Center.
This is also a replacement program. The bus that we're replacing, it's a 2005 bus. It meets the requirement both in age and in mileage to be replaced. We are using let me make sure I get this right. The HGAC bike cooperative for this particular purchase. This bus is available, and it can be delivered to us inside of 8 weeks, which is we didn't think was going to be possible. And so we also we did our due diligence and called 2 other companies, and both the quotes that we got were higher than this one. So we're asking for approval under that contract.
Sir? Any public comment cards on this item?
No, sir.
Seeing no one come forward, we'll close public comment. I have a motion from council.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, I'd offer a motion to approve the bus replacement for Adult Activity Center at the sum of $64,800 as read tonight by Mr. Rogers.
Second.
That was a motion to approve the bus replacement for the Adult Activity Center in the amount not to exceed $64,680. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. And it does pass unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Rogers, you got a new bus. Now, Mr. Stacy, I believe you might want to address this next item in totality.
Sure, Mr. Mayor. Mayor and Council, this is a series of resolutions that are authorizing condemnation related to the McGinnis Ferry Road widening project. There's actually going to be 8, not 9. Number 5 is going to come off because an agreement was reached with the property owner just earlier this evening before the meeting. I want to say this phase is about 40-ish properties, so most have been resolved. We expect, the discussions are ongoing with these property owners, and we expect a lot of these will resolve before they have to go into any significant sort of litigation. In many cases, it's actually just an issue of getting the lender to respond and get us the proper approvals to go ahead and release the funds, because often they need to work it out with the homeowner as to how much the lender's going to get or not get for the money that's been placed in the registry. So these are just a few mop-up ones that need to go into condemnation formally in order to close out this phase.
All right, thanks, sir. Do you want to go ahead and read the resolutions?
Yeah, we'll need to go one by one.
Okay.
So I'll read the first one. Yep.
You're the one reading, so you can read them one by one if you like.
I'd batch them if I could. A resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 4915 Tidewater Way, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 215680103404448 for road project McGinnis Ferry Road widening from Ronald Reagan Boulevard, Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway, whereas the city of Alpharetta, the city, in conjunction with the city of Johns Creek and Forsyth County, has determined that it is necessary to construct a road project, which includes the widening of and construction of other operational improvements to a portion of McGinnis Ferry Road, such road project being known as the McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway project, and whereas in order to construct the project, it is necessary to acquire certain rights to, in, over, under, through, and across the property now or formerly owned by Kyong P. Nguyen, located at 4915 Tidewater Way, tax parcel number 215680103404448 within the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, reference project parcel 30, as further further described and shown in attachment A, attached here to, and incorporated herein by this reference. And whereas the mayor and council consider the project and determine the project in the use of eminent domain to acquire those certain rights to, in, over, under, through, and across the foregoing property are necessary in the public interest and must be carried out expeditiously to ensure the timely completion of the project. Now therefore it is hereby resolved by the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia as follows. For public road purposes and to meet the public necessity for immediately acquiring the subject property rights which are hereby declared, the mayor and council authorize the city attorney's office to acquire through the use of eminent domain pursuant to Title 32 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated the necessary property rights to, in, over, under, through, and across the property located at 4915 Tidewater Way, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 215680103404448, in order to ensure the timely completion of the project, McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway. Further, the mayor and the city administrator are specifically authorized to execute on behalf of, and as if signed by every member of the governing authority of the city, the mayor and council, any and all documents necessary to further the filing of any petition for condemnation or declaration of taking related to the same, and in furtherance of this resolution.
And we need to make a motion and vote on each one individually?
Yes.
Okay. I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the use of eminent domain to acquire property located at 4915 Tidewater Way in Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 21-5680-1034-0448 for the McGinnis Ferry widening from Ronald Reagan to Union Hill to Hospital Parkway.
All those in, well, first, do I have a second?
I seconded them all this
Motion by Councilman Burnett, a second by Councilman Merkel, and that was for the condemnation of parcel number 21-5680-10344-0044-8 for the road project on McGinnis Ferry Road. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. And it is unanimous. Thanks, sir.
A resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 4935 Tidewater Way, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 2156801034042-2 for road project McGinnis Ferry Road widening from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway, whereas the city of Alpharetta, the city in conjunction with the city of Johns Creek and Forsyth County has determined that it is necessary to construct a road project which includes the widening of and construction of other operational improvements to a portion of McGinnis Ferry Road, such road project being known as the McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway project, and whereas in order to construct the project, it is necessary to acquire certain rights to, in, over, under, through, and across the property now or formerly owned by Miriam Dennis, located at 4935 Tidewater Way, tax parcel number 215688010340042-2 within the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, reference project parcel 32, as further described and shown in attachment A, attached here to and incorporated herein by this reference. And whereas the mayor and council have considered the project and determined that the project and the use of eminent domain to acquire those certain rights to, in, over, under, through, and across the foregoing property are necessary in the public interest and must be carried out expeditiously to ensure the timely completion of the project. Now therefore it is hereby resolved by the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia as follows. For public road purposes and to meet the public necessity for immediately acquiring the subject property rights which are hereby declared, the mayor and city council authorize the city attorney's office to acquire through the use of eminent domain pursuant to Title 32 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated the necessary property rights to, in, over, under, through, and across the property located at 4935 Tidewater Way, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 215688010340042-2 in order to ensure the timely completion of the project, McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard, Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway. Further, the mayor and the city administrator are specifically authorized to execute on behalf of and is signed by every member of the governing authority of the city, the mayor and council, any and all documents necessary to further the filing of the petition for condemnation or declaration of taking related to the same and any and or in furtherance of this resolution.
Thanks, sir. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the use of eminent domain to acquire property located at 4935 Tidewater Way in Alpharetta, Georgia. That's tax parcel ID number 21-5680-1034-042-2 for the McGinnis Ferry Road widening from Ronald Reagan to Union Hill to Hospital Parkway, as read by City Attorney Mike Stacy.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Burnett and a second by Councilman Binder, and that was for 4935 Tidewater Way for the use of eminent domain. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. And it does pass unanimously. Mr. Stacy?
A resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 1305 Tidewater Crossing, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 2156801033085-2 for road project McGinnis Ferry Road widening from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway. Whereas the city of Alpharetta, the city in conjunction with the city of Johns Creek and Forsyth County, has determined that it is necessary to construct a road project which includes the widening of and construction of other operational improvements to a portion of McGinnis Ferry Road, such road project being known as the McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway project, the project. And whereas in order to construct the project, it is necessary to acquire certain rights to and over, under, through, and across the property now or formerly owned by Luis A. Ramirez, located at 13075 Tidewater Crossing, tax parcel number 2156801033085-2, within the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, reference project parcel 34, as further described and shown in attachment A attached here to and incorporated herein by this reference. And whereas the mayor and council have considered the project and determined that the project and the use of eminent domain to acquire those certain rights to and over, under, through, and across the foregoing property are necessary in the public interest and must be carried out expeditiously to ensure the timely completion of the project. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved by the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, as follows: for public road purposes and to meet the public necessity for immediately acquiring the subject property rights, which are hereby declared, the mayor and council authorize the city attorney's office to acquire through the use of eminent domain pursuant to Title 32 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, the necessary property rights to, in, under, over, through, and across the property located at 13075 Tidewater Way, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 2156801033085-2, in order to ensure the timely completion of the project, McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway. Further, the mayor and city administrator are specifically authorized to execute on behalf of and is signed by every member of the governing authority of the city, the mayor and council, any and all documents necessary to further the filing of any petition for condemnation or declaration of taking related to the same and or in furtherance of this resolution.
Thanks, sir. I have a motion from council.
Yes, sir. I'd like to make a motion to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire property located at 13075 Tidewater Crossing, Alpharetta, Georgia. It's tax parcel ID number 21-5680-1033-085-2 for the McGinnis Ferry Road widening from Ronald Reagan to Union Hill to Hospital Parkway, as read by City Attorney Mike Stacy.
I have a motion by Councilman Burnett, a second by Councilman Binder, by a hair. That was for the use of eminent domain for 13075 Tidewater Crossing. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. And it does pass unanimously. Mr. Stacy.
A resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 5045 Tidewater Way, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 2156801054070-8 for road project McGinnis Ferry Road widening from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway. Whereas the city of Alpharetta, the city in conjunction with the city of Johns Creek and Forsyth County, has determined that it is necessary to construct a road project which includes the widening of and construction of other operational improvements to a portion of McGinnis Ferry Road, such road project being known as the McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway project, the project. And whereas in order to construct the project, it is necessary to acquire certain rights to and over, under, through, and across the property now or formerly owned by the Tran Ventures LLC, located at 5045 Tidewater Way, tax parcel number 21-5680-1054-070-8 within the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, reference project parcel 44, as further described and shown in attachment A attached here to and incorporated herein by this reference. And whereas the mayor and council have considered the project and determined that the project and the use of eminent domain to acquire those certain rights to, in, over, under, through, and across the foregoing property are necessary in the public interest and must be carried out expeditiously to ensure the timely completion of the project. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved by the mayor and city council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, as follows: for public road purposes and to meet the public necessity for immediately acquiring the subject property rights, which are hereby declared, the mayor and council authorize the city attorney's office to acquire through the use of eminent domain pursuant to Title 32 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, located, the necessary property rights to and over, under, through, and across the property located at 5045 Tidewater Way, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 21568-1054-070-8, in order to ensure the timely completion of the project, McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway. Further, the mayor and the city administrator are specifically authorized to execute on behalf of and as if signed by every member of the governing authority of the city, the mayor and council, any and all documents necessary to further the filing of any petition for condemnation or declaration of taking related to the same and or in furtherance of this resolution.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a motion from council?
Sure. I'd like to offer a motion to approve the resolution to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property at 5045 Tidewater Way in Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel ID number 21-5680-1054-070-8 for the road widening project for McGinnis Ferry Road, Ronald Reagan Parkway to Union Hill and Hospital Parkway, as read by City Attorney Michael Stacy.
I have a motion by Councilman Burnett and a second by Councilwoman Richard, and that was for 5045 Tidewater Way, Alpharetta, Georgia. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. And it does pass unanimously.
To remind Mayor and Council, number 5 has come off because it has been resolved. So moving to item number 6. A resolution of the Mayor and Council of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 13045 Dartmoor Avenue, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 21-5680-1054-089-8 for road project McGinnis Ferry Road widening from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway. Whereas the City of Alpharetta, the city in conjunction with the City of Johns Creek and Forsyth County, has determined that it is necessary to construct a road project, which includes the widening of and construction of other operational improvements to a portion of McGinnis Ferry Road, such road project being known as the McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway project, the project. And whereas in order to construct the project, it is necessary to acquire certain rights to and over, under, through, and across the property now or formerly owned by Tony E. Jung and Min Jung, located at 13045 Dartmoor Avenue, tax parcel number 21-5680-1054-089-8 within the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, reference project parcel 49, as further described and shown in attachment A attached here to and incorporated herein by this reference. And whereas the mayor and council have considered the project and determined that the project and the use of eminent domain to acquire those certain rights to and over, under, through, and across the foregoing property are necessary in the public interest and must be carried out expeditiously to ensure the timely completion of the project. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved by the mayor and council of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, as follows: for public road purposes and to meet the public necessity for immediately acquiring the subject property rights, which are hereby declared, the mayor and council authorize the city attorney's office to acquire through the use of eminent domain pursuant to Title 32 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated the necessary property rights to and over, under, through, and across the property located at 13045 Dartmoor Avenue, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 21-5680-1054-089-8 in order to ensure the timely completion of the project McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway. Further, the mayor and the city administrator are specifically authorized to execute on behalf of and as if signed by every member of the governing authority of the city, the mayor and council, any and all documents necessary to further the filing of any petition for condemnation or declaration of taking related to the same and or in furtherance of this resolution.
Thanks, sir. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire property located at 13045 Dartmoor Avenue in Alpharetta, Georgia. That's tax parcel number 21-5680-1054-089-8 for the McGinnis Ferry Road widening from Ronald Reagan Union Hill to Hospital Parkway, as read by City Attorney Mike Stacy.
Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion by Councilman Burnett, a second by Councilwoman Richard. And that was for the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 13045 Dartmoor Avenue. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. And it does pass unanimously. Mr. Stacy?
All right, 3 more. A resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 13037 Dartmoor Avenue, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 21568010540-090-6 for road project McGinnis Ferry Road widening from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway, whereas the city of Alpharetta, the city in conjunction with the city of Johns Creek and Forsyth County, has determined that it is necessary to construct a road project which includes the widening of and construction of other operational improvements to a portion of McGinnis Ferry Road, such road project being known as the McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway project, the project, and whereas in order to construct the project, it is necessary to acquire certain rights to and over, under, through, and across the property now or formerly owned by Sumant Sura and Radha Sura, located at 13037 Dartmoor Avenue, tax parcel number 21568010540-090-6 within the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, reference project parcel 50, as further described and shown in attachment A attached here to and incorporated herein by this reference, and whereas the mayor and council have considered the project and determined that the project and the use of eminent domain to acquire those certain rights to and over, under, through, and across the foregoing property are necessary in the public interest and must be carried out expeditiously to ensure the timely completion of the project. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved by the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, as follows: for public road purposes and to meet the public necessity for immediately acquiring the subject property rights, which are hereby declared, the mayor and council authorize the city attorney's office to acquire through the use of eminent domain pursuant to Title 32 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated the necessary property rights to, in, over, under, through, and across the property located at 13037 Dartmoor Avenue, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 21568010540-090-6 in order to ensure the timely completion of the project McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard and Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway. Further, the mayor and the city administrator are specifically authorized to execute on behalf of and is signed by every member of the governing authority of the city, the mayor and council, any and all documents necessary to further the filing of any petition for condemnation or declaration of taking related to the same and or in furtherance of this resolution.
Have a motion from council.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution of the mayor and city council to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire property located at 13037 Dartmoor Avenue, Alpharetta, Georgia. That is tax parcel number 21-5680-1054-090-6 for the McGinnis Ferry Road widening project from Ronald Reagan Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway, as read by Michael Honeycomb Stacy.
Do I have a second?
I'm seconding that.
I think I hear a second by Councilman Heights. We have a motion by Councilman Burnett and a second by Councilman Heights, and that was for the use of eminent domain to acquire property located at 13037 Dartmoor Avenue, Alpharetta, Georgia. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. And it does pass unanimously. Mr. Stacy.
A resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 0 Dartmoor Circle, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 21-5680-1054-137-5 for road project McGinnis Ferry Road widening from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway, whereas the city of Alpharetta, the city in conjunction with the city of Johns Creek and Forsyth County, has determined that it is necessary to construct a road project which includes the widening of and construction of other operational improvements to a portion of McGinnis Ferry Road, such road project being known as the McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway project, the project, and whereas in order to construct the project, it is necessary to acquire certain rights to and over, under, through, and across the property now or formerly owned by Kendricks Parks Homeowners Association, Inc., located at 0 Dartmoor Circle, tax parcel number 21-5680-1054-137-5 within the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, reference project parcel 50A, as further described and shown in attachment A attached here to and incorporated herein by this reference, and whereas the mayor and council have considered the project and determined that the project and the use of eminent domain to acquire those certain rights to and over, under, through, and across the foregoing property are necessary in the public interest and must be carried out expeditiously to ensure the timely completion of the project. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved by the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, as follows: for public road purposes and to meet the public necessity for immediately acquiring the subject property rights, which are hereby declared, the mayor and council authorize the city attorney's office to acquire through the use of eminent domain pursuant to Title 32 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated the necessary property rights to, in, over, under, through, and across the property located at 0 Dartmoor Circle, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 21-5680-1054-137-5, in order to ensure the timely completion of the project, McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway. Further, the mayor and city administrator are specifically authorized to execute on behalf of and is signed by every member of the governing authority of the city, the mayor and council, any and all documents necessary to further the filing of any petition for condemnation or declaration of taking related to the same and/or in furtherance of this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Stacy. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution by the mayor and city council of Alpharetta to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 0 Dartmoor Circle, tax parcel number 21-568-0-1054-137-5 for the road project, McGinnis Ferry Road widening from Ronald Reagan Boulevard, Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway, as read by Mike Stacy.
Second? Anyone? Second. Councilman Binder. So we have a motion by Councilman Burnett, second by Councilman Binder, and that was for use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 0 Dartmoor Circle. All those in favor, raise your right hand. And it does pass unanimously. I think Councilman Binder. Okay, just checking. And it does pass unanimously.
Last one, and it's not easy to say Dartmoor and not Dartmouth. A resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 13033 Dartmoor Circle, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 21-5680-1054-091-4 for road project McGinnis Ferry Road widening from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway. Whereas the city of Alpharetta, the city, in conjunction with the city of Johns Creek and Forsyth County, has determined that it is necessary to construct a road project, which includes the widening of and construction of other operational improvements to a portion of McGinnis Ferry Road, such road project being known as the McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway project, the project. And whereas in order to construct the project, it is necessary to acquire certain rights to, in, over, under, through, and across the property now or formerly owned by Srinivas S. Halabar and Sushma Mashamheti, located at 13033 Dartmoor Circle, tax parcel number 21-5680-1054-091-4, within the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, reference project parcel 51, as further described and shown in attachment A, attached here to, and incorporated herein by this reference. And whereas the mayor and council have considered the project and determined that the project and the use of eminent domain to acquire those certain rights to, in, over, under, through, and across the foregoing property are necessary in the public interest and must be carried out expeditiously to ensure the timely completion of the project. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved by the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, as follows: for public road purposes and to meet the public necessity requirement for immediately acquiring the subject property rights, which are hereby declared, the mayor and council authorize the city attorney's office to acquire through the use of eminent domain pursuant to Title 32 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated the necessary property rights to, and over, under, through, and across the property located at 13033 Dartmoor Circle, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 21-5680-1054-091-4, in order to ensure the timely completion of the project McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway. Further, the mayor and the city administrator are specifically authorized to execute on behalf of and is signed by every member of the governing authority of the city, the mayor and council, any and all documents necessary to further the filing of any petition for condemnation or declaration of taking related to the same and/or in furtherance of this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Stacy. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 13033 Dartmoor Circle, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel ID number 21-5680-1054-091-4 for the road widening project of McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard to Union Hill to Hospital Parkway, and as read by City Attorney Michael Sugar Smacks Stacy.
Can we get a second? Somebody bite the bullet.
Second.
Okay. Councilwoman Mr. takes one for all of us, and that was to approve the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 13033 Dartmoor Circle, Alpharetta, Georgia. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. And it does pass unanimously. Thank you, sir. That will wrap up that portion of tonight's agenda, and we'll move on to the most exciting part yet, the workshop from Ms. Kathy Cook.
Thank you. And as the mayor stated, this is just a workshop to give staff guidance. It's some proposed changes that we have to the alcohol ordinance, specifically ancillary wine tasting license. What we're finding is that, of course, we have establishments that sell wine, but they also have a tasting room, so they're not able to actually sell wine by the glass. So the changes that we have proposed would actually allow them to not only have the tastings, but they would also be able to sell wine or craft beer by the glass. So they would be able to have the tastings. And I asked Brett if we had a existing craft beer store. We don't have one, but this would, allow a craft beer store to come in and then have the tasting. Plus, you could actually buy up to 16 ounces by the glass. So that's the proposal there. And in order to make the changes, we would also have to add a definition for craft beer because we don't currently have a definition. And it's something we just took from research from other surrounding cities. So we didn't make up the definition. It's something that's been used in other jurisdictions. So that would be the main change. And then there's also a distance requirement change that we're proposing. We currently have section 4-17 that has the distance requirements where we are proposing to add a sixth requirement, which is to require no person, retailer, or retail package store may sell or offer to sell alcoholic beverages within 2,000 feet of any other retail package store. And where the number 2,000 came from is other definitions that we have within the Unified Development Code for other uses. We require the 2,000 feet, and that's just something we're proposing. If you prefer to match the state requirement, which is 1,500 square feet, of course, we could add that in. We're not being more restrictive than the state. It's just more or less letting people know that that's still a requirement from the state.
Councilman Burnett.
Kathy, my question to you is it specifically calls out craft beer, and I recognize that there are uses and developments that I don't understand. But why could they not offer what was deemed not craft beer, and how do you make that designation? If I want to drink a Bud Light at one of these places, am I not allowed to?
No, basically, because the definition for craft beer that we would put in the code says that, craft beer shall be defined for purposes of this section as a malt beverage produced at a brewery whose annual production is 6 million barrels of beer or less. So it would not be, it'd have to be craft. That's the definition of craft. And then we took that from some other local ordinances.
Snooty places.
Well, you'd have to have about 20, I think we have 25 different brands of craft beer in order to have a tasting room and to be able to sell the craft beer by the glass.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Any other feedback? Councilman Binder?
Glad to see the change from what we, saw earlier tonight. Are you comfortable? Do we need to do maybe a further review of the state code or any other codes that make sure we're in line or we're not missing anything that's
I think we do.
over line? All right.
And yeah, we've been talking about that because of the different issues that have come up over the last couple months, and even one tonight that we weren't aware of with the state code. And they would always have to follow the state code, but it's good that if we put that in, so that they know, kind of like what we did with the spa ordinance.
So I'm sure you're going to do it, but just when this comes, I like what you have here, just when you come back to make the changes that you can give the go-ahead that you feel comfortable with what the state said.
Sure.
Any other feedback from council?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. Kathy, it's the city of Roswell, and I believe one other city that I was reading through, and I can't find it at this moment, but that mentions the growlers and things like that. We already have a growler ordinance. Have you combined these or looked at our growler ordinance that we?
I asked Brett about that, and he said that we of course we have our growler ordinance. It's just not something that's used much anymore, and I don't know if you want to add anything else to that, but we've had that for a couple of years, but he said it's something that it's not used very
Like
much.
having a buggy whip ordinance right now.
So we would still apply the growler ordinance should we get another person who wants to open that, because I know they're still around.
Right, and I'm not aware of any here. No, okay.
Whole Foods.
Decatur has a couple in.
Whole Foods still did them the last time I checked, but
Okay.
that was the only one I'm aware of.
But not an individual retailer that I'm aware of, but it doesn't impact that portion.
Okay, thank you.
Any other feedback?
I just.
Councilwoman Richard.
Thank you, Mayor. I definitely like the proposed changes here. Just a question about the number of brands. I see that we're suggesting 25 different wine or craft beers. And when I look at what you gave us regarding other cities, 50 seemed to be the number for Milton, and I think somebody else had 100.
Correct.
How did we come up with 25?
This is something that's already in the ordinance, and so when Brett and I looked at it, we didn't change it, but that's something we could certainly change, and I wasn't part of, putting it together originally, so I don't know where the number 25 came from, but that's existing, and I don't know if you know. Okay. But I did notice that. So there's some that have 50 and some that have 100. And our original draft that we sent you, we'd actually removed any requirement for the number. But we talked about that, and that's something we can't quantify if it just says a large number of different brands. So we actually, kept the existing 25 number in there.
I mean, that's a good point for the workshop. Is there any advantage to making it a higher number?
That's what I was going to say. 25 allows for a smaller shop to participate. Because it says, if you read it, the license shall maintain on the premises and offer for sale by package at least 25 different brands of wine and or beer. So it just allows for a smaller shop to exist. If you were to change it to 50, if you change it to 100, fermented might not have that many and would fall outside of the regulations is what it would.
And that's why I'm asking, because I'm just trying to get some insight about
Where that
came from.
And we could, and we'll try to do additional research on that, but we just looked at the surrounding cities, but I saw it was 50 and 100.
I think that was my only question. Thank you.
Any other feedback?
I just thought, I'm sorry, thank you. I know there's one that's being proposed. It's not there yet, or it may not ever be there, but are we considering the possibility of allowing like charcuterie trays and stuff like that also be served? And does this take that into consideration?
It allows food. It does not prohibit food being served.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Richard.
Just another follow-up to that, but there is no ratio requirement for a wine tasting, or is there?
Correct. There is not.
There is none.
There's just limitations on the number, the ounces.
Great, okay, just wanted to clarify that.
Any other comments from council? Kathy, do you think you have enough clarity to go forward?
I do, and I will work with Michael Stacy before the Planning Commission meeting and see if there's anything else, too, that we need to make sure that we capture in here.
And you sure you don't want Brett to have to say something since he stayed this long?
Well, I gave him, if you notice, I gave him several opportunities.
He did. Councilman Hypes, please.
Is the 2,000 feet, and I apologize for not having studied this before, but is it
is it as a crow flies, or is it in some, because we got into that tonight a little bit.
Right. Well,
It's a shorter walk from Royal Liquor Store to the other place than it is to drive around to the traffic light. So what's our criteria here?
It's different from, of course, in the downtown. We have the downtown regulations where you measure from door to sidewalk to door. And then outside of the downtown, we have the different measurement, which would be as the crow flies. But for the downtown, it's actually out the front door, on the sidewalk, to the next front door. So it's a different way to measure. And I don't know, did I say that incorrectly? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Do we have a reason for having two different modes of measurement based off zoning district?
We do, because most of the downtown, you could have a retailer with residential on top or residential beside of it to make it hard for a fermented or craft beer to be located in a downtown area. Marietta Street, across from Victoria Square, townhomes. So it's the difference in proximity, because you're creating a mixed-use environment in a downtown. You would not be able to meet the distance requirements for, if you're going to measure 300 feet.
Okay, this is a workshop. This would be my suggestion, and then you can ignore it if you wish. That's fine with me. I would have one method of measurement and then adjust your distances if you think it's appropriate. But I think it's weird to have two different measures of, one's as a crow flies, one's as the interstate route to get there.
I see what you're saying. We'll look at that part too. But so it would basically be different distances in the downtown, but the measurement's the same. That's a good point. If that's been done at other.
I don't know, and it may be a stupid idea. Heck, I don't know. I just wanted to know how we're measuring.
I wonder if that's in order to meet state minimum requirements, because I don't think they have a different measurement. You would still have to meet the state minimum requirements from schools, residents. So that's what they did, is came up with other measuring.
Correct.
ways.
I think we'll need to look at it in the context of state law. The problem is Alpharetta, like some of the other North Fulton communities, are sort of on the leading edge here of different ways of thinking about things. State law doesn't always catch up quite as quickly. So we're certainly looking at this in terms of, for example, even calling it, give me the term again.
I was wine or beer, craft beer market. Instead of wine bar is somewhere in this ordinance, and I said, really, it should be something like a wine market or something.
So the problem with state law is typically state law looks at it and says, well, is it a bar or is it a liquor store? So, well, it's not really either of those things. So we're just having to work through some of those kinks, but it's a solvable problem. We'll just have to, like this one, kind of think about how to handle that within the context of state law.
Well, earlier I heard a suggestion about 2,000 feet between package stores, and I think that's a good distance. I mean, it's a third of a mile, give or take, and I think that's a good distance. But again, in my mind, it's sort of a straight line distance, but I don't know, because then it gets weird. But
Well, we'll look at that and see what we can do also regarding the measurement. Because there is confusion. I mean, because we get people that are confused between the downtown zoning map versus the downtown measuring, overlay for alcohol distance measuring. So there is some confusion.
Councilman Burnett.
Not a follow-up question, but if my ask would be for the next couple of weeks, if you see a best practice that's more legally defensible, would you can email us. I don't need a work session on how we're going to lock people out, but I would be really interested to know, because I've thought about Councilmember Hypes' question a lot, because we do strategically use distance requirements for very good reasons. But if there is a more defensible way and we can clean it up in a night or two if it took readings, I think that's worth doing, and I would love your legal advice on, because it will get challenged. Thank you.
Certainly.
Any other comments? Got everything you need, Kathy?
I do, thank you.
Great job, thank you. So that'll wrap up the workshop portion of tonight's meeting. And now, do we have any public comment cards, Ms. Cobb?
Yes, sir. Maggie Goldman, 9605 Stony Ridge Lane, Alpharetta.
Hello. I'm speaking to you on behalf of the 130 members of the North Fulton NAACP. Our organization strives to ensure equity of rights for all people, regardless of race, creed, or identity. This is of utmost importance when it comes to police encounters. In the wake of the unfortunate event involving the Alpharetta police and the Alpharetta resident Travis Moya, I believe that now is the time to implement a crisis intervention team of mental health care professionals. These professionals can assist the Alpharetta Police Department with emergency calls concerning mental illness, much like the 911 call made by Mr. Moyer's family, during which his wife specifically requested an ambulance, stressing, "We do not need the police." The intentionality behind Ms. Moya's request was based on the fact that encounters between police and people suffering from mental illness often turn physical, resulting in serious injury or death of the person in crisis. Luckily, Mr. Moyer did not lose his life. However, a crisis intervention team member could have intervened before any physical altercation took place. Last year, the cities of Johns Creek and Brookhaven partnered with Behavioral Health Link, the organization behind the Georgia Crisis and Access Hotline, to have a number of mental health professionals work with their respective police departments. The goal is to treat those in crisis with dignity and respect, while providing access to mental health treatment as opposed to arresting them and causing more harm. From the Johns Creek website, the Johns Creek Police Department Crisis Intervention Team is a team of specifically trained officers who come in contact with individuals in a state of crisis during a mental illness. The CIT officers administer de-escalation techniques to effectively reduce the potential injury to the consumer, mentally ill person, and the officer. The program also provides follow-up measures such as resources and education to further enhance the problem-solving process. Officer Ann Oakson and Behavioral Health Link clinician Ms. Taisha Porter will work together to help our citizens with mental illness, and reduce calls for service on patrol, as well as the Criminal Investigations Unit. With Ms. Porter being a licensed clinician, we'll be better equipped to respond to calls involving mental illness and/or crisis intervention. Together, we continue to serve our citizens of Johns Creek. The town of Brookhaven describes their crisis intervention team on its website. Mental health and crisis intervention are issues that Brookhaven Police Department officers deal with on a daily basis. In a department with a reputation for implementing the latest law enforcement protocols, these daily occurrences, plus an increase in mental health-related 911 calls since the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic, have prompted the recent creation of a crisis intervention team. This innovative co-responder model of police-based intervention will help persons with mental disorders have access to mental treatment rather than place them in the criminal justice system due to illness-related behaviors. I'm asking that the Alpharetta City Council follow the lead of its neighboring North Fulton cities and start taking mental health seriously by assembling a crisis intervention team. Thank you.
Ms. Cobb, do we have any other public comment cards?
No, sir, we do not.
All right. Do we have any reports?
I'm sorry, I've got
Mayor
one
Pro
quick
Tem?
one. Miss Jackie Angel sent this out, the Milton High School 100 anniversary events. This Thursday night from 6 to 8, it's a reception with art and literary that came from the Art and Literary Challenge they held this spring. It'll be in the community room from 6 to 8 this Thursday, or you can see it through October 20th in the community room when there's not another meeting going on. So please attend that if you can.
Councilman Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 2 months ago, the Georgia Department of Transportation deemed all right-of-ways as something that would be fee-based, where we could no longer charge per mile in our city limits. And Tom Harris, who is not here to defend himself, was so excellent at working with GDOT over our issues of having additional revenues written down that they went back to the drawing board at their meeting last Thursday and exempted every city so that we can hang on to more of the revenue from the carriers while the counties still have to, they didn't have anybody lobby for them like Tom. So the things I will miss, being a pain in the ass to the carriers is really high on that list. Thank you.
Any other reports? Mr. Regis?
Let's let Dan go.
Councilman Merkel.
Due to the lack of time, yes, I need, I've already assigned, but I'm reassigning my two appointees to the Ethics Commission for the city, and I'm assigning Mary Ulick and Kyle Caswell to fill my two posts.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Regis.
No, I just want to officially welcome Mike Stacy as city attorney. You know.
Consider him welcomed. Any other reports? All right. Unfortunately, I must ask that we adjourn into executive session. Do we have a motion to do so? Have a motion by Councilman Binder, second by Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell. All those in favor of adjourning into executive session, raise your right hand. And it is unanimous.